Sapagkat ang kapayapaan, ito po ang susi para tayo po ay magkaroon ng tunay na pag-unlad. Hanggat meron po tayong tinatawag na mga kaaway mismo dito sa loob ng ating bansa, napaka-imposible na magkaroon po tayo ng pag-unlad. Sapagkat ang mangyayari lamang po, para lang tayo naglolokohan, magkakaroon tayo ng mga pag-unlad na infrastruktura, pero gigibain din natin pag nagkaroon tayo ng gera, pagkatapos ng gibaan, gawaan uli, lokohan po ang tawag doon.
Sponsor, yung sinasabi niyo may target sila. Pero ang tanong ko, dun sa target nila, meron na hubang nasampulan para naman madala at it will serve as warning to some people there na hindi talaga nabibigyan ng minimum wage. Ito pong ibig sabihin ito mga employer. Meron na hubang nakulong at pwede hubang makita yung numero ng mga nakulong o nakasuhan man lang.
Meron po silang mga nakita na hindi nagko-comply, so mag-i-issue po sila ng compliance order. Admittedly, walang nakukulong.
Dapat po may
Wala
makulong.
pa. Wala pa.
Dapat po may makulong.
Ayon po sa kanila, no?
Dapat may makulong dahil kapag walang nakulong na mga employer, dapat may makulong na taga-dole dahil hindi na ginagawa ka ng trabaho.
Kala ko ba ay kayo tutulong sa budget?
Tutulong sa budget. Pero it doesn't mean na
Okay.
tutulong sa budget tapos maging tamad na sila.
Hindi naman po.
I'll
Okay.
give them
no other than Senator Robin Hood Padilla. I move that he be recognized.
Senator Padilla is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pong pinunong mayurya. Isang magandang paggabi po sa ating ginagalang at iniidolong senador, sa Senator General Bato de la Rosa. Isang magandang gabi po. At sa lahat po ng bumubuo ng OPAPRO. A'udhu billahi minasyaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Bismillahi wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, ang usapin po ng kapayapaan ay isang bagay na dapat ay niyayakap ng bawat Pilipino. Sapagkat ang kapayapaan, ito po ang susi para tayo po ay magkaroon ng tunay na pag-unlad. Hanggat meron po tayong tinatawag na mga kaaway mismo dito sa loob ng ating bansa, napaka-imposible na magkaroon po tayo ng pag-unlad. Sapagkat ang mangyayari lamang po, para lang tayo naglolokohan, magkakaroon tayo ng mga pag-unlad na infrastruktura, pero gigibain din natin pag nagkaroon tayo ng gera, pagkatapos ng gibaan, gawaan uli, lokohan po ang tawag doon. Kaya ako po ay sumusuporta dito sa OPAPRO, sapagkat ito pong kanilang misyon ay hindi lamang po sa usapin ng isang bayan, isang probinsya, kung hindi para po sa buong Pilipinas. Kaya po sana, ang hinihingi ko po sa ating bulwagan ay mabigyan po natin ng sapat na pansin at sapat na budget pa ang OPAPRO. Pero, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, sa lahat po ng pagkakataon, siyempre, kailangan po ang output. Hindi po pwede na wala tayong output. Kailangan po natin maintindihan ng bawat Pilipino kung papaano po nakukumbinsi ng ating mga bayani, kung ano pong tatawagin ang aking kaibigan na si Secretary Galvez at ang bumubuo po ng OPAPRO, kung papaano po nila nakukumbinsi yung mga combatants, yung mga tinatawag po nating mga rebelde na nanumbalik na sa ating pamahalaan na hindi na bumalik uli sa pakikipaglaban. Ganon din po yung kanilang mga anak o mga apo o mga kamag-anak. Kasi po, ang nangyayari sa aking pong obserbasyon, lumalahok ang mga nakatatandang miyembro ng mga rebelde. Sila ay pumapasok uli sa gobyerno, sila uli ay nanunumbalik, pero katulad po na nangyari sa Marawi Siege, yung kanilang mga anak, kanilang mga apo, ay hindi nila nakumbinsi. Ito ay humawak uli at humawak ng armas. Ganon din po sa mga Abu Sayyaf. Yung mga Abu Sayyaf ay mga apo, mga anak ng mga MNLF. Kaya po sana, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, hayaan niyo po akong makapagtanong ng mga ilan pong mga punto. Katulad po, halimbawa, Magmula po ba noong nagkaroon tayo ng, baka po lang may record po kayo, magmula po nagkaroon ng peace agreement, balik lang po natin, no? Magmula po doon sa panahon ng, kung meron lang po, ng panahon po ng MNLF at ng, hindi po MILF, ng MNLF at ng gobyerno natin, magkano po ba ang naibigay ng ating gobyerno sa MNLF? Kung meron lang po kayong record, kung may existing po, mahal na ginoong tagapamahala.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sa ngayon, actually ang hawak nila ngayon na records ay limited lang muna dito sa MILF, Your Honor. But as far as the MNLF history is concerned, as far as their institutional memory is concerned, ang binigay po ng gobyerno sa mga MNLF ay limited lamang sa integration. Meaning, yung mga MNLF combatants doon na nagsurrender, yung bumalik sa gobyerno ay na-integrate sa Armed Forces of the Philippines at saka sa Philippine National Police. So yun lang po ang naibigay. Unlike yun sa MNLF. Unlike sa MNLF ngayon, medyo mas comprehensive yung kanilang natatanggap na socio-economic assistance package. Yung isang MILF combatant ngayon ay nakakatanggap ng initial cash assistance na 100,000 pesos. Plus, meron silang livelihood programs and other socio-economic assistance, estimated study grants, skills training, and social protection based on the result of the needs assessment conducted for each of the decommissioned combatant at an average cost of around 1 million pesos per combatant. Kasama na yung buong package niya na
Sa bawat
Your
isang,
Honor.
sa bawat isang surrendery po yun.
Yes po.
Sa MLF po yun.
Pero ang cash dyan is 100,000.
100,000.
Tamang.
Opo.
All others are given in kind. But that amounts to almost around 1 million per decommissioned combatant.
Magmula po noong ginoong tagapamahala, magmula po noong nagkapirmahan at pumasa at nagawa ang BARM, ilan na po ba ang combatants na nag-surrender ng kanilang mga armas? At ilan na po ang nakakuha nitong package na ito na nakakahalagang 1 million?
Sa kasalukuyan, Your Honor, a total of 26,132 MILF forces and 4,625 weapons have been decommissioned under Phase 1, 2, and 3. Pagdating sa gastos na naibahagi sa kanila, ay yung national government po ay nakapag-allocate pa ng over 19 billion pesos na pamana projects from 2017 to 2022 across the country. The pamana supports the building of peaceful, progressive, and conflict-resilient communities and boosting economic activities in the region where they have been implemented. So far through pamana, 19 billion pesos na po ang nagastos ng ating gobyerno.
Ilan na lang po bali ang nananatili? Nasa 40,000 combatants, mga 15,000 na lang po ba?
Around 14,000.
About
Your Honor.
14,000. Lahat po ito, ginoong tagapamahala, nagkaroon na ng livelihood.
26,000, Your Honor.
Kasama po dito yung bahay. Meron po ba silang bahay? May housing po ba sila?
Ongoing daw yung pabahay para sa kanila that will start 2024. Nag-start na. Mag-start 2024, Your Honor.
Magkano po ba ang budget para po sa decommissioning ng MILF forces po natin ngayon pong 2024? Magkano po?
Your Honor, there is a total of 9.7 billion pesos is needed to fulfill the targeted normalization program for fiscal year 2024. Of the total funding requirements for
9 billion po, 9 billion.
9.7 billion.
Para
Ang
po dun-
requirement
para po
para-
doon sa natitirang 14,000?
Yes po, Your Honor. Ito po yung
Magkano
kinakailangan.
po ang na-approve itong 2024?
Ang na-approve is only 899 million 314,900.
Aba,
So,
parang 10% lang yata yun, ah.
less than.
Opo,
Mas mababa pa sa 10%.
Aba, paano po yun? Paano po yun, ilang libo po yun? Doon sa 800 million na yun, ilang libo po yun? 1,000? 1,400, malamang. 1,400 lang. Paano po kaya yung matitira?
We expect with the lack of funding support, we expect really, Your Honor, that the normalization program will be delayed and delayed again.
Mahal na ginoong tagapamahala, medyo lungkot po ito sapagkat ilang taon na rin po nangyari ang peace agreement. Marami na din po siyempre ang ating, pagka sinabi po nating combatants, kasi ito po yung ground. Ito po yung tinatawag nating nasa grassroots. Sila yung totoo. Pagka ganito po na, paano po ba ang mangyayari? Every year, 10% lang? O wala pang 10% ang pwede nating bigyan? Di ba po meron niyang palugit sa batas? Meron pong sinasabi sa batas ang palugit niyan?
Totoo po, Your Honor, ang palugit na binigay ng batas ay hanggang 2 taon na lang. So, within 2 years, the normalization phase should have been completed, the normalization program. So, kung hindi ito mapunduhan ngayon, normal na madelay na naman. So, hopefully, next year, mapunduhan ito para hahabulin ng ating OPA-PRO, ng ating mga in charge dito, yung normalization process.
Opo. Kasi po, ginoong tagapamahala, tunay pong napakahalaga na mayroong tayong independent na BARM na hinahangaan po natin, sapagkat ayon po sa mga statistics, nagpe-perform very well ang BARM. At katunayan, pati ang kanilang sa poverty na paglalabanan nila, pati ang kanilang agriculture, maganda. Pero kapag yung mga combatants ang hindi natin nabigyan ng pansin, magiging suliranin nito. Sapagkat sa isang, sabihin na po natin, ang BARM ay isang probinsya na masasabi natin na napakalaki. Na napakalaki ang kanyang sinasaklawan. Sabihin na nating mahusay ang gobyerno, magaling ang gobyerno. Pero ang tanong, sa batang edad ng pagkakatatag ng BARM, hindi pa nararamdaman ng mga nasa baba yung progreso na yun. At ang nakikipaglaban para doon sa progreso na yun ay yung mga combatants na hinihikayat natin na wag nang bumalik sa pakikipaglaban sa gobyerno. Pero eto tayo ngayon, kulang tayo ng pondo. Nakakalungkot lang lamang po yan sapagkat sa inyo po bang kaalaman na mahal na tagapamahala, magkano po ba ang block grant natin sa BARM?
The annual block grant of BARM is around 70.5 billion, Your Honor.
Kapag sinabi pong block grant, yan po'y binibigay natin ng buo ng walang question.
Yes po.
Opo.
And they're free to spend it
Kung saan po nila
on their
gustong
own.
dalhin.
Yeah, according to their budget that is formulated by their own parliament.
Bukod po doon, meron pa po ba tayong binibigay ang national government sa BARM?
Yes, Your Honor, we are giving them annually the special development fund of 5 billion pesos within the next in the next 10 years from the enactment into law of the BOL. 10 years na magbibigay tayo ng 5 billion pesos annually for a special development fund that will be used for the repair of the damages in the war-torn areas in southern Philippines.
Bali, lumalabas po na parang nasa 76 billion? Parang ganun po ba? Ilan po yun? 70
70 billion yung kanilang
plus
annual
5.
block grant.
So, parang
Plus 5,
so
so
mga 75.
75, around
Plus.
75. Yeah.
Buo po natin binibigay yan. Opo. Sa inyo po bang palagay, mahal na tagapamahala, ano po ang mas mahalaga sa ngayon sa OPA-Pro? Yung po bang binili natin na 75 billion, siyempre, mahalaga yon. Pero ano po ba? Yung combatants, kung pwede po ba natin may timbangan tayo, ano po ba ang ating prioridad? Mabigyan po natin ng, maibsan natin yung ating mga ipinangako dito sa mga combatants, maibsan natin, maitawid natin, matupad natin ang kanilang mga pangako, ang ating mga pangako sa kanila, o maibigay natin yung 70 billion, 5 billion na yan. Ano po ba ang sa palagay po ninyo? Kasi ang gobyerno, alam ko naman po na tayo nga po kapos na kapos din ang gobyerno. Kailangan po tayo may priority. Ano po ba dapat ang priority natin?
Well, Your Honor, before I answer your question about priority, I would like to correct my earlier statement that actually it is correct yung 70 billion na black grant plus 5 billion special development fund and another 5 billion share in taxes, fees and charges collected in the BARM. So a total of 80 billion, 80.5 billion yung natatanggap ng BARM government annually. So going back to your question about prioritization, well, para sa akin, right now, I can answer you that para sa akin, parehong kailangan talaga yon. Dalawa, they are on equal footing dahil nga, itong namang black grant ay ginagamit po ito sa kanilang pagpapatakbo ng kanilang gobyerno. Sigurado, kung bibigyan ito ng least priority, it will defeat the purpose of having a BARM government. But yung patungkol naman doon sa mga armado, na mga combatants na kailangan natin talagang i-priority yung normalization, no? I agree with you na napakahalaga po niyan. In fact, if you want immediate peace, instant peace, and lasting peace, ay talagang dapat yun ang mauna. Dahil wag sanang masamain yung ating no? Posibleng habang andyan pa sila, hindi pa sila na decommission. Well, kung meron kang armas, it's normal that you will be madali kang may tsansa na matim ka talaga to commit crimes. So, kung ma-decommission na ito sila at nabigyan na ng socio-economic package, then I'm sure lasting peace will prevail all over the area of the BARM area.
Tama po kayo, ginong tagapamahala. Parehas po talaga itong may bigat sa timbangan. Pero noong ako po ay nakapanood minsan ng isang parang sa budget din yata yun sa mababang kapulungan, sa malaking kapulungan. Nabanggit po ng isang mambabatas doon ang patungkol sa unused funds ng BARM. At ang pagkakadinig ko po parang nasa 50 billion yata yun, 50 billion. Meron po ba kayong knowledge dito patungkol po sa unused funds ng BARM na hindi po nagamit?
Well, meron lang akong narinig, Your Honor, na hapyaw, but as to the details, alamin ko pa po yung details tungkol dyan sa unused funds na yan.
Kaya ko po lang naitanong, ito po bang, halimbawa, ito po ay meron talagang unused funds. Hindi po ba natin pwedeng kausapin ang BARM na ponduhan muna itong 8 billion para po sa kanilang mga combatants? Hanggat wala tayo, hanggat inaantay pa natin. Hindi naman po yan thank you lang. Kumbaga parang babayaran naman ng gobyerno bilang partnership. Kasi ang alam ko sa isang peace agreement, partnership yun Dalawang partido yun na nag-uusap. At ang pinakamahalaga, dahil gobyerno na rin naman ang BARM, at gobyerno talaga na tumatakbo at maganda ang ginagawa, at kita naman sa mga statistics na sila'y talagang mahusay, pero merong combatants na naiwan Kailangan natin harapin yun Hindi natin pwedeng hindi harapin at sasabihin lang natin sa kanila, next year kayo. Next year kayo. Hindi pwedeng puro next year. Ang taong nasa ground na tunay na nakakadanas ng kahirapan sa 24 oras na umiikot ang panahon, hindi natin pwede sabihin, next year na kayo. Yun lamang po, parang para sa akin, baka kung meron naman sa pamamagitan po ng magaling na pakikipag-usap ng aking kaibigan, na si Secretary General Galvez, baka lang, kung wala naman tayong nilalabag na batas, kung ito naman ay madadaan sa mabuting usapan, bakit hindi po natin gawin?
Well, napakaganda po yung panukala mo, Your Honor. Siguro it's about time that the national government talks to the BARM government at pag-usapan ito. This is a good option, ha? Napakaganda po itong option na ito. Barring any legal complications, ha?
Opo.
Kung wala
Opo.
naman tayong malalabag na batas, then baka magandang pakiusapan. Kasi nga, right now, no? Right now, when we say about obligations or whatever. BARM is not legally mandated to contribute to the government of the Philippines for normalization. It is not mentioned in the annex on normalization nor in the Bangsamoro Basic Law. But, as you have said, as you have clearly pointed out, it is a very good option, and that recommendation is very, should I say, napakaganda. Magtagalog na rin ako. Napakagandang suggestion po yan. That would be, if that suggestion will be accepted by both parties, by the BARM and the national government, then we can call that the Padilla recommendation. The Padilla recommendation that will end all problems in the Bangsamoro region.
Inshallah, mahal na tagapamahala. Sapagkat naniniwala po ako na parehong maganda ang intensyon ng
Yes.
gobyerno at ng BARM. At ito pong magandang intensyon na ito, ay makikita lamang po natin ang magandang kinabukasan ng BARM kung ang mga combatants ay tunay po na mararanasan nila ang progreso.
Yes, Your Honor, but if I may, with your permission, I would like to ask the minority leader, if the unused funds of BARM after one fiscal year, will it be returned to the national government or not? It stays with them. So okay, if it stays with them, then
Diskresyon na po nila, di
yeah,
ba?
that's a good discretion
Discretion na po
nila on how
nila.
to deal with that fund. So, thank you, minority leader, for that information.
Mr. President, with the permission of our colleagues, but parang may fiscal autonomy concept na rin po yan sila. So it's
Yes.
the assembly which should now enact the budget ordinance. So pwedeng pakiusap pero obligasyon natin sa parang sa isang agreement. So we can alleviate the situation na merong sumasalo in the meantime, but still masisingil ang national government sa kanyang commitments, Mr. President.
That's correct.
Yan ang expectation ng other party, other contract.
Thank you, minority leader, for that input.
Yun po, mahal na tagapamahala, yun naman po yung ating mungkahi na kung tunay talaga ang intensyon ng bawat isa, hindi dapat tumauwi sa usapin ng pera. Sapagkat ang pera, yan ay instrumento lamang. Hindi yan ang buhay. Itong ating pinag-uusapan dito ay kung paano mabubuo ang bansa. At ang bansa, hindi yan mabubuo kung ang tao sa loob niyan ay hindi masaya.
Yes, I agree.
Ang kailangan, itong mga taong napangakuan natin na magiging maayos ang kanilang mga buhay, dapat natin gawin. At yan ay sa loob na lamang ng 2 taon.
2 taon.
At bilang tayo ay partner, ako'y naniniwala na partner natin ng BARM. Bagamat sila ay may tinatawag natin na may autonomy. Sila ay may, sinasabi nga natin, sila ay malaya. Pero nasa isang bansa tayo. Tayo pa rin ay nasa isang bandila. At dapat yung bandila na yan ang sagisag ng ating pagkakaisa. Hindi usapin ng peso sign. Dapat tayo ay nagkakasama-sama, tayo ay lumalakad patungo sa tinatawag nating progreso, pwede natin iisang tabi lahat. In every rule, sabi nga nila. Ituloy mo na yung English na yun.
There is an exception. Yes, Your Honor, alam po ninyo, yung sinasabi mo kanina na yan nga, aside from their fiscal autonomy, their political autonomy, alam nyo yung nakalimutan ko to, dahil pilit ko tinatagalog yung gusto kong sabihin.
Englishin mo, boss!
Akala mo, magaling rin mag-English, no? But anyway, Your Honor, nakalimutan ko na ito. Yung, you know, Mr. Naalala ko na. I hate to use the term GPH, Government of the Philippines, and the BARM. I hate to use that term. Because para bang ina-alienate mo yung farm from the,
Opo.
from the government of the Philippines, GPH. Yan kasi ginagamit ng term. But right now, I don't want to use that term. I want to use the national government, the term national government, rather than GPH. They're always using GPH. Para bang government of the Philippines in one side and BARM in the other side, para bang hiwalay sila sa gobyerno natin. And they are still part of the Philippine government. That is why we are giving them black grant because they're still part of the Philippine government. They're part of our territory. Kaya nga, I hate to use that term GPH. I want to use national government. That's more in the for purposes of unity. That is more appropriate. I think so. They are in agreement with me. So that's it, Your Honor.
Apo. Maraming salamat po, Ginong Tagapamahala. Yun lamang po ang aking gustong imungkahi at iparating sa OPAPRO. Ako naman po ay katulad ng sinabi ko kanina sa umpisa pa lang, ako po ay 100% nakasuporta sa OPAPRO mula noon hanggang ngayon. Ako po ay nasa likod nila sa usapin ng kapayapaan at ang akin lang pong minungkahi ay upang magdire-diretso na. Huwag na po natin hayaan pa na ma-impluwensyahan pa ng mga dayuhang maling ideolohiya yung mga bata sa BARM. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Tagapamahala at sa lahat po ng bumubuo ng OPAPRO. Ganun din po sa inyo, Ginoong Pangulo. Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat din po sa ating pinunong minorya.
Maraming salamat, Your Honor. Rest assured, lahat tayo dito, kahit na yung mga kameraman na yan, kahit na yung kung sino mang nandito, pati mga janitor, lahat tayo ay gusto, kahit na sila ay mga Musliman o mga Kristiyano, lahat tayo ay gusto talaga ng kapayapaan. So, nagkakaisa po tayo dito. Maraming salamat po, Your Honor.
Mr. Juncture, I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from Isabela and Davao, no other than Senator Raffy Tulfo. So move, Mr. President.
Senator Raffy Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Sponsor, good afternoon. I would like to put in record as Vice Chairman of the Committee on Labor, I am fully supporting 100% the budget for 2024 for the Department of Labor and Employment. Ibig sabihin, walang kaduda-duda, full out support po ako. Okay, ba,
Maraming
Madam
salamat po, Mr. President,
However-
sa chair ng committee ng Department of Migrant Workers. At alam ko po na sa puso niya ay talagang nagbibigay ng proteksyon sa ating mga manggagawa. At inaantabayanan ko po ang kanyang mga katanungan na sigurado akong makakatulong para pang mapaganda palalo ang budget ng DOLE.
Tama po kayo dyan, Mr. President, Madam Sponsor. I've said it so many times, but I'll say it again anyway. Ito po yung sinasabi ko. He was less in life, should have more in law. Ibig sabihin, yung mga maliliit at kapuspalat na yung mga kababayan, sila dapat magkaroon ng mas malawak na proteksyon sa ating batas. At sino po itong mga kapuspalat na kababayan? Sila po yung mga below minimum wage na hindi nakatanggap ng sapat na sweldo mula sa kanilang mga employer. At kapag sila po ay nagsampa ng reklamo, nababaliktad pa sila karamihan. And there are times na sila po ay nananalo, pero paper victory lamang ang nangyari at hindi na natatanggap yung kanilang panalo. So, having said that, ang question ko ngayon para sa mga taga-DOLE, ano pong polisiya you have put in place to ensure na wala na pong mga manggagawa na makakatanggap ng below sa minimum wage? Tatas po natin yan. And yet, every day, even while we speak, doon po sa action center ko, sa TV5, meron pong mga nakapila doon dahil hindi po binibigay yung kanilang tamang pasweldo at binipisyo. Ibig sabihin, meron po tayong minimum wage, below minimum po ang binibigay sa kanila. Karamihan po sila mga factory workers, sila po yung mga security guards, sila po yung mga bodegero, sila po yung palagi na api. So, meron po ba tayong pulisya na para matigil na po maging patas na po ang batas?
Alam po natin na kailangan talaga pinapatupad ang ating minimum wage. Ang ginagawa po ng DOLE ay by inspection. Alam naman po natin na hindi kaya naman inspeksyonin lahat sa buong bansa. So ako po ay magpapakatotoo na meron po silang graph dito ng mga na-inspect po nila mula Enero hanggang Oktubre ngayong taon na ito sa NCR Asala regions. Meron po silang target, meron silang accomplishment, at meron silang na-inspect at may technical and advisory visit. Yun po ang ginagawa nila, labor inspection and technical and advisory visit. Lahat po naman ay dapat sumusunod ng ating mga batas. Alam natin, ang minimum wage nga ay dapat taasan pa nga, pero hindi pa na napapatupad yun. In the meantime, all they can do and what they're doing is inspection and technical and advisory visits. At meron po silang, mahaba po ito, can give you a copy of the targets per region and their accomplishments per region.
Kahanga-hanga po yan, Mr. President, Madam Sponsor, yung sinasabi niyo may target sila. Pero ang tanong ko, dun sa target nila, meron na hubang nasampulan para naman madala at it will serve as warning to some people there na hindi talaga nabibigyan ng minimum wage. Ito pong ibig sabihin to mga employer. Meron na hubang nakulong at pwede hubang makita yung numero ng mga nakulong o nakasuhan man lang.
Meron po silang mga nakita na hindi nagko-comply, so mag-i-issue po sila ng compliance order. Admittedly, walang nakukulong.
Dapat po may
Wala
makulong.
pa. Wala pa.
Wala pa. Dapat po may makulong.
Ayon po sa kanila, no?
Dapat may makulong. Dahil kapag walang nakulong na mga employer, dapat may makulong na taga-dole. Dahil hindi lang ginagawa ka ng trabaho.
Kala ko ba ay kayo tutulong sa budget?
Tutulong sa budget. Pero it doesn't mean na
Okay.
tutulong sa budget tapos maging tamad na sila.
Hindi naman po.
I'll
Okay.
give them the budget that they
To be fair
ask,
to
they
them,
require.
yes.
I'll give it to them full support. Pero kapalit niyan, gawin nila ang trabaho nila para
Sure.
sa mga maliit nating kababayan.
Opo. Sinabi ko po, ang kanilang ginagawa ay visits and compliance visits, nagbibigay ng abiso. Sabi nga nila, may mga hindi nagko-comply, so may compliance orders kayong ginagawa. But they were
Opo.
very honest to say, sa kaalaman nila, wala pang nakukulong.
Wala pa nakulong. Kaya nga po sana, pwede ho ba ako mag-request na sana po may makulong para may sampulan. So yung mga pong mga, sabi niya mo, Madam President, Madam Sponsor, na call attention na, pwede bang bigyan niyo ako ng kopya para ako na po magpa-follow up to make sure na talaga matutuluyan yung mga kumpanyang yun at makasuhan. Kasi hanggat wala po nakasuhan, ang tingin nila sa batas natin is bungal. Kumbaga, walang ngipin. So dapat lagyan natin ngipin ng batas. At ako po ang pwede magsilbing ngipin. Okay lang po sa akin, magalit
Okay.
sila lahat. Basta I'll make sure na yung batas ay ma-implement. At that's the reason, to be honest with you, Mr. President, Madam Sponsor, that's the promise I made to the mga manggagawa during the election na pagdating ko po dito sa Senado, sila po ay magkakaroon ng boses, lalo na po yung mga palaging naapi ng mga manggagawa at hindi nabibigyan tamang mga sweldo at benepisyo. I'll be the voice for them.
Okay.
And I'm just doing what I promised them.
Bibigay ko po sa inyo ang matrix po nila ng minimum wage, rate of compliance to the minimum wage. January to September of 2023, ang kanilang inspected establishments at ang compliance rate ayon dito sa datos ay 93.50. Ang ating talagang, it is our desire that everyone will comply with this. Maliit na nga yung minimum wage, ay kailangan mag-comply lahat.
Kulang na nga po kung tutusin. Tama,
kulang
I
na
agree with
kulang,
you.
yes.
Kaya, in fact, I made the suggestion last year. Mukhang mabilis mag-oo yung mga taga-dole, pero hindi naman ginagawa. Suggestion ko lang to. In my humble opinion, it will be better kung magpaskil po sa lahat ng establishmento, especially sa mga factory, sa mga security agency. Sinasabi doon na ito yung minimum wage para sa lugar na ito,
Meron.
at ito yung mga karapatan ng mga manggagawa, at kapag hindi nasunod ito, meron hotline na pwede yung tawagan. At siyempre, dapat yung hotline na yun, may sumasagot doon. Wala pa rin pong gumagawa ng ganon.
Ginagawa po nila,
Meron na po
ayon
ba?
po sa DOLE, ay nagpapaskill po sila ng hard copy.
Kung hard copy, sana yung parang karatula. Na,
Yun nga po, hard copy na poster sa mga establishments.
Yes.
Not only minimum wage, but also
Yung mga
overtime
karapatan nila.
pay, holiday pay, and other
At
benefits.
sa baba noon, may nakalagay na hotline na pwedeng tawagin.
Yes, meron po yun.
Kasi po, sa yung work area, anong nangyari po kasi, karamihan, sa galing ng probinsya, pupunta dito sa Maynila, hindi nila alam magkano minimum wage. So kung ano sasabihin po sa kanila ng kanilang employer, tinatanggap nila, kapit sa patalim. Pero kung meron pong karatula doon, ay, ito pala yung minimum wage sa Maynila, ito pala yung mga karapatan ko, dapat pala overtime bayaran, night differential dapat bayaran, etc.
You
So,
do that.
hindi nasusunod.
Yeah.
Kailan pala may payslip. Hindi nasusunod yung, hindi nabibigay mga karapatan ko yan. Then, nandun yung cellphone number na pwede nang tawagan.
Meron po silang ginagawang ganun,
Meron.
ayon po sa DOLE, ay
Alright.
ginawa po nila. Hindi
Okay.
lang nga yung minimum wage, kundi yung mga benepisyo.
So next budget hearing sa 2024, gusto ko po meron na pong nakasuhan na employee hindi po nagbigay ng minimum wage at
May kaso.
meron pong nakulong.
Meron po kaso.
Hindi po ako nagbibiro, seryoso po ako ha. Gusto ko po by next year, meron pong employer na hindi po nagbibigay sumusunod doon sa minimum wage law na ina-underpay yung pumamanggagawa niya. Bigyan niyo ako ng kahit isa man lang na kumpanya, matutuwa na ako. Pero pag wala, ako po ay manggagalaiti. I'm very sorry to say that right here, right now. Kailangan po meron isa masampulan o matuluyan. Kasi wala po talaga eh. And I'll tell you, Madam Sponsor, ikaw, hindi niyo alam to Madam Sponsor, although si Madam Sponsor, she's my friend. Karamihan sa mga dole sinasabi inspection, pupunta ron. Sasabihin ko lang po sa inyo yung style. Punta ron yung mga taga-dole mag-inspect. Kasi nga po, may nagreklamo. In fact, there are times na natutuwa pa nga kapag may nagreklamo. Pupunta mag-inspection. Pagdating po doon sa area, magkakaroon po ng pag-uusap, yung pong dole inspector at yung pong mga opisyal ng kumpanya. And wala pong representante mula po sa mga manggagawa ng kumpanya. So sila lang po nag-uusap. So hindi alam kung anong pinag-uusapan. Paglabas ng Dole Inspector, may dala-dala na pong bag. Hindi alam kung anong laman ng bag. At tablado na. Yun na po ang aking observation. At yan po'y base po, meaning, base po yan sa mga nasabi po sa akin. So ang aking po observation, mukhang hindi po seryoso yung Dole para masolve po yung problema ng manggagawa. Again, going back to what I promised, susuportan ko po ang inyong pong budget. In fact, mamaya NLRC, meron po akong bibigyan na big support. Andito ba yung DBM? DBM? President man DBM? Meron man DBM? Tumago ng DBM? Walang DBM? Kala ko. Okay. Anyway, mapapanood naman ito ng DBM. Okay. So okay na po ba yun? Yung akin pong sinasabi sa inyo? Kasi for so many years, Mr. President and Madam Sponsor, for so many years, I've been a broadcaster for 20 years. Okay. Walang mintis po yan. Araw-araw, mahaba po ang pila sa aking action center na kung saan mga security guard, mga factory worker, ang reklamo nila, Idol, sir, below minimum po ang aking sweldo. Wala pong bayad sa overtime. 15 hours po yung trabaho ko. 18 hours pa po yung trabaho ko. Wala pong overtime. Palagi pa po ako puyat at napapagalitan pa. Etc. etc. Wala pong payslip. Wala po akong SSS, wala pong PhilHealth, wala pong pag-ibig. Ganun na lang po palagi ang reklamo. So, kaya nga sabi ko po, nandito na po ako sa Senado, gusto ko po dapat magkaroon po ng kabuluhan yung pagdating ko dito sa Senado. Kaya nga po ang request ko ngayon sa Dole, gusto ko po by next year sa susunod na budget hearing, meron po talagang natuluyan na nakusuhan dahil sa pagnanakaw sa sweldo ng mga pobre nating mga manggagawa. Kasi ito po, bibigyan kita ng situation kayo dyan sa Dole. Kapag ang empleyado nagnakaw sa kanyang amo, pinagtatrabahuan, maniwala kayo sa hindi, kakasuhan agad yung empleyado, makukulong sa kasong qualified theft. Tama, as simple as that. Pero kapag ang amo nagnakaw sa kanyang empleyado sa pamamagitan ng hindi pagbigay ng tamang pasweldo, ninanakaw yung kanyang sweldo at binipisyo, binubulsa, ano nangyari? Hanggang Dole lang. Pagdating sa Dole, pag-uusapan lang, pag-aregluhin. Sometimes, wala lang. This is unfair. Ito nga sinasabi ko, he who has less in life should have more in law. Pero mukhang hindi ata nasusunod. Kaya hanggat dito ako sa Senado, kaya gusto ko ito maliit natin kababayan, especially itong mga maliit na magagawa, ay mabigyan ng mas palawakang proteksyon. And so with Dole, can I get assurance from you guys, by next year, meron na po natuluyan na kasuhan na employer na nang api sa kanyang mga trabahador, meaning hindi po nagbigay ng tamang pasweldo. Give me an assurance ngayon pa lamang. Kasi for the past 20 years, like I said, 25 years po ako naging broadcaster. Ganun po ang palaging reklamo, day in and day out. And in fairness naman po sa Dole, tuwing tatawag ako sa Dole, na-action na naman. Pinag-aayos, binabalik yung mga sweldong hindi na ibigay, band-aid solution yon. Yung sa akin, gusto ko po pang matagalan at permanent solution. Can I get that commitment from Dole?
Yes. Mr. President, I think all of us here, whether elected or appointed or working in a bureaucracy, share the same advocacy for workers' welfare, for giving them what is due them, for compliance with the minimum wage, which is already so minimum and not a living wage. Yes, so I speak for them, even if the secretary is not here anymore now for a very urgent personal reason. Yes, to the best of their ability, they will, but clearly we know that it would be the DOJ. They must file the case there, no? And how can I, a sponsor of the budget, and they watch over the courts to ensure, because I cannot promise you, Your Honor, that as I sit here next year, if I'm still the chair of the budget of Dole, na may nakakulong ng isa. Because you will say that I may be lying if next year walang nakakulong.
Okay, pero
I cannot answer you,
Yes, ma'am.
sir, in the affirmative to say, I promise you when the budget comes here, may nakakulong. I as budget chair cannot do that.
Yes, ma'am.
But we share your advocacy. You're not alone in that fight. We all share the advocacy for workers' welfare and giving them their due wages. That's why we have also been wanting to increase the minimum wage para taasan po ang minimum wage nila para maging living wage. Napag-usapan po yan ng mahaba sa hearing. At may mga naka-file na admin cases, kung may criminal cases at nasa mga korte, I'm not certain whether the Dole personnel here can actually interfere. So cannot assure you na may nakakulong. Kasi kung sabihin kong oo para lang mapasa yung budget, para na akong nambola sa inyo. I don't want to do that.
No, what I'm
Yes.
trying to say here, Madam Sponsor, Mr. President, is merong kasong na i-file na dapat. Kasi mukhang wala atang kaso na i-file. Merong nga monitoring,
No
meron
cases.
kayong target, inspection and all. Pero marami, I'm sure sa mga ginawa yung pagbibisita, pagmamonitor, marami kayong nakitaan dyan ng mga kumpanya na talagang nag-violate sa batas natin, sa labor law natin.
evidence, yeah.
So ang tanong ko talaga, meron na bang naiakyat man lang
Yes.
sa korte?
Mr.
Kung meron,
President.
ilan po, para kung meron mga na-pending, ako na po magpa-follow up, I'll help you out na para i-ensure ko na yung kaso yun hindi natitengga lang dyan sa korte, yan po ay gugulong at meron masampulan at meron makulong. Kasi hanggat wala pong nakukulong na mga among balasu, salbad, mga masamang amo, tuloy-tuloy pa rin po yung gagawin pang-api.
Yes. Ako po isang ayon sa inyo, pero alam naman po natin na ang DOJ na piskal o yung prosecutor ang siya magtitimbang ng ebidensya whether if-file ito o hindi, di ba po? Nagiging makatotoo ang mga DOLE directors or USEC sa akin na hindi po sila. It will be the prosecutor, it's under the DOJ, who will decide whether the
Precisely.
case will be filed or not.
Exactly.
And so, yes, if there are abuses, since you are very influential in that sphere, and that is your advocacy, which we share with you, maybe the proactive way is to seek the help of the good senator so that through his influence and more than 26 million followers on his platforms, he can help you. Because if I tell you, I assure you, may kulong 1 year from now, then you take me up on that, hindi po ako ang nagpapakulong o sila po. It is the DOJ, through the prosecutor and the fiscal, that is our judicial process that will weigh the evidence to see if there is enough evidence to file the case. And once it is in the court, again, I cannot expect the good secretary or his ASECs and USECs to be following it up
Okay.
in the respective courts. However, what we could do is inform your honor and your office with all cases filed, whether for compliant, the non-compliant employers, and then perhaps you could help both administrative and possible criminal liabilities.
That's exactly
That's
what
what I can suggest.
That's exactly
Yes.
what I'm talking about. Now, thank you po, nag-guess na po ako. Yung bang merong po dapat mga kaso nang na-file sa korte. Dahil
There are cases filed in court?
dahil
Do you
dito
have
sa
them
mga
now?
kumpanya na hindi po sumusunod sa batas.
Wala. As of now, to their knowledge, there is no criminal case filed in court. There are administrative cases based on their visits and their compliance visits, Mr. President.
Anyway, ako po ay gumagawa ng resolution. Ang tawag po doon ay anti-wage theft law. Para makasuhan ng kaso kriminal ang lahat ng mga employer na hindi po na nagnanakaw sa sweldo ng mga empleyado. But alam naman natin yan, Madam Sponsor, na it will take some time bago yan ay ma-hear hanggang sa may pasa kung may papsa. Pero for the meantime, meron naman talaga tayong batas na dapat implement labor law na nagsasabing ibigay yung nararapat, which is the minimum wage.
Yes.
So gusto ko po, sana may ma-file na kaso by next year at gusto ko makita yung ma-file na kaso para ako na po magpa-follow up upang masiguro na talagang gugulong yung kaso na i-file. Yun lang po yung point ko.
Yes. The DOLE, insofar as their role will be the witnesses, Mr. President.
Okay.
Again, I reiterate that the proper process through the DOJ would be for the fiscal or the prosecutor to assess the evidence and to file the case. And the DOLE will be a witness. What we can do is to give you all the cases, administrative in nature, that are non-compliant. And then we see how it can be developed into a criminal case, right? But depending again on the prosecutor who will weigh the evidence and decide whether a case will be filed. And once filed, we will see in which court it will raffled off, right? And that's a long process.
I know.
If your honor and your office and regional offices nationwide and with your vast influence can help, we would be very happy.
Okay.
Ulitin ko po, kaisa po niyo ako sa inyong advokasya para bigyan ng hustisya at karampatang benepisyo ang ating manggagawa. As I said many times today, they're the engine of our socio-economic development, so we must protect them.
Okay.
Unfortunately, and I'll be very truthful, it's a long process, and I would like to see the non-compliant employers, yes, charged, and so that it would be a lesson learned, that's what you're saying, for all the others to comply with the law. Because napakaliit na nga ng minimum wage, hindi pa living wage, hindi pa binibigay ng buo. I support you and I will be co-author of with your permission, of your bill on wage theft. Because I recall, when you were not yet senator, when we were before the campaign, you told me one of the first bills you will file is that bill. Yes. It's been 1 year and a half. Yes.
Nasa committee na yun.
Oh, yes.
And,
We will support you there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nasa committee na po yun. Hinihintay ko lang po ma-hear yun. Hindi naman po akong chairman. Ako po ay vice chairman lamang.
May I suggest again,
Already
Mr.
forwarded
President?
to the committee and I'm still
Yes.
waiting na yun po ay ma-hear.
Majority Leader, magandang i-prioritize. So, may I suggest also, Mr. President, that if it is a priority measure, I share your advocacy. And if the chair of the committee would be willing to create a subcommittee, pwede po niyong i-hearing yun. Para po, bago sa susunod na taon, nakaharap ko po kayo sa budget ng DOLE na isabatas na yan. Para sabi nyo, may ngipin ang batas. Kasi ang DOLE, hindi nila kayang saklawin ang trabaho ng DOJ na siya pong gagawa ng kaso at sila po ang nanunungkulan dun sa pag-usad ng mga na-file na kaso. Pero kung meron na kayong batas na wage theft, and I agree with you in concept, then that would be very helpful. So you can create a subcommittee, right? Under whose committee it is. It's only a suggestion. If your honor wants it to move more quickly.
Matanong ko lang po, Madam Chair, sa mga taga-DOLE. Halimbawa po, sa ginawa niyong inspection, ito po ay para sa mga taga-DOLE. And then sa inyong paggawa ng inspection, base po sa reklamo ng mga manggagawa sa isang factory, paulit-ulit at matagal nang niloloko sila ng kanilang employer at hindi po binibigay yung kanilang tamang pasweldo minimum, wala sila sa minimum wage, wala yung mga benepisyo. Kapag nalaman niyo po yan, na ganun po yung violation for the past, say, 10 years, ganun po yung gawain. Ano po usually ang ginagawa ng DOLE? Ano pong course of action? May I know?
That's all you can do. Compliance order. Warning. Kung di kayo so, all they can do when they visit them on non-compliant, issue a compliance order with double indemnity, and then what's next? Subject to writ of execution. Then they collect if they don't pay.
Good question. If they
Then
don't pay,
if they don't pay, there's garnishment.
warning?
Garnishment. Have you ever garnished?
Yes.
You've
Bank
done.
accounts, yes.
Okay.
Meron po
So,
bang na-garnish?
Yes.
yes, they've garnished bank
Can I
accounts.
get a list of those companies na-garnish?
They can give you a report,
Can
Your
I
Honor.
get a
Yes.
report? Yung mga nakita na
So,
may violation at na-garnish?
visitation, compliance order, then writ of execution, and hopefully they comply, double indemnity, but if not, writ of execution and garnishment, right? That's
Okay.
all you can do.
I'll tell you, Madam Sponsor, Mr. President, ito po, may record naman to, naka-upload naman to sa channel ko. Anong nangyari, may mga kumpanya, say, 10 years na hindi nagbibigay ng minimum wage sa kanilang mga trabahador. After 10 years,
Ano nakakulos din, Ken?
nakapag-isip, kaya nga, magandang tanong, paano nakalusot? After 10 years, magmamarcha po yung mga empleyado, gagawa akong computation. There are times, nakakasingil po ako. Yung program ko ng 2 million, 3 million, ang pinakamalaki ata na singil 5 million dahil parang 15 sila mga empleyado, nasingil ko na hindi kayang singilin ng DOLE, hindi sa pagmamayabang, dahil sa akin, nasingil ko na obliga yung kumpanya na bayaran, pero after 10 years. Pero kasing limit ngayon na up to 5 years lang ata ang pwede masingil. So kung lumapit sa akin yung mga empleyado, 10 years after, sorry na lang yung 5 years. Parang ganun ata hanggang 5 years lang ata ang pwede makolekta. Anyway, yan sinasabi kong proseso. So what I want you to do, DOLE, for the meantime, hanggat hindi pa naipapasa yung bill ko na wage theft, make sure na dapat may napaparusahan. Doon sa sinasabi niyo ng compliance, binanggit si Madam Sponsor na garnishment, execution, kung ano pa man yun, dapat meron talaga. Meron na pasara,
yes.
meron po na embargohan ng mga assets dahil ipambayad doon sa kanilang mga
rin kayo.
empleyado. In fact, meron po ako mga kumpanya na papalusot, tuturuan ko kayo dyan mga taga-DOLE. Inobliga ko yung employer na yung kanyang diamond wedding ring.
You can be
Inobliga ko, biniro ko lang, pero yung biro ko, sineryoso niya, yung kanyang diamond wedding ring, isinala niya para may pang sweldo lang.
Mr. President, I am told that,
Para may pas...
yes, hindi po nila tungkulin at hindi po sila pwede magsara at magpasara. It's beyond their jurisdiction.
Hindi, kasi ang pagkakaintindi ko na sabi rate of execution, ano pa ba yung sinasabi niyo? Okay, sorry kung na-misunderstood niyo ako. Ang sa akin, just do something na para maramdaman nitong mga employer yung ngipin ng batas.
Yes. do everything within their
Yes,
jurisdiction.
exactly.
But they cannot go beyond what is prescribed for them to do. Yeah.
Maybe pwede sila
But they can
mag-usap-usap,
coordinate
magkaroon-
with the other agencies kung
Exactly,
hindi
nandiyan-
nasa klaw ng kanilang
Nandiyan yung
jurisdiction.
BPLO, Business Permit and License Office sa LGU, pwede sila makipag...
Sa LGU, it
Yeah,
would be
pwede
the
sila
LGU.
makipag-usap doon.
Yes.
Diba? Nandiyan yung DTI. So pwede naman, kung gusto, maraming paraan. Kung ayaw,
Yes,
maraming
Mr.
dahilan.
President.
Diba?
We take note of that.
ikabubuti ng
There's
mga
no
manggagawa.
disagreement. We take note of that. And they're listening intently. And we will ensure that they will be more proactive. They've been doing their best. But as I said, the cases, it should be DOJ. And the padlocking, it would have to be the LGU. But garnishment, etc., they've done that. They can even give you a list of some
Okay, sige, garnishment.
companies that have done that.
So gusto ko makita yung mga nag-garnish na mga kumpanya. Can
Yes.
you give me a report, a list?
Yes.
Para ma-advertise ka naman po. Nang
Yes.
ganon, makita ng iba, seryoso pala itong dole, wag natin gawin.
course,
So it will serve as like a warning. Ano po?
That's part of their accomplishment. And
Kailangan po
just-
maipaskil natin yung mga violators.
Yes. Paki-take note lang po na they would not consider garnishment as a punishment because that's mere compliance. Hindi pa ho yun parusa. Kasi pag gina-garnish mo, ibig sabihin kasi non-compliant sila, so that's part pa lang ng compliance, hindi pa sila
I know, pero
pinaparusahan.
at least accomplishment po yun.
Yes.
At least ibig sabihin, kumikilos po yung dole.
Yes.
At makikita din doon yung mga nag-garnish na kumpanya. Sasabihin ng mga kumpanya, ayaw ko malagay dyan sa listahan, ayaw ko ma-advertise. Kailangan bago dumating yan, magbabayad nila ako ng tama
Yes.
sa mga empleyado. That was my point. So at least kung ano yung nagawa ng dole, ibigay nyo sa akin para ipakita ko, ito, nasasampulan sila, hindi nagbabayad, mag-garnish lang sila. Diba?
We take
obligasyon
note of that.
magbayad.
Yes, Mr. President.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. Isa na lang po. December on or before December 24, dapat po ibibigay yung 13-month pay. At malapit na po ang Pasko. Every single year, starting January 10, pataas, sa Action Center ko po, 80% ng pila, hindi po binibigay ang 13-month pay. Ano pong polisiya ang ginagawa po ng dole para masiguro na yung 13-month pay po ay naibibigay talaga?
Non-compliance pa rin. Non-compliance pa rin yan eh. Pareho rin po eh.
Opo. Kasi ngayon po, magpapasko na. Alam niyo po,
Yeah.
yung 13-month pay,
Agree.
doon po sa mamaliit nating kababayan, inaasahan po nila kasi extra money yan. Pinaplano nila, ano
Agree.
yung bibili ko sa 13-month pay? Bibilihan ko ng sapatos yung aking bunso. Bilihan ko ng damit yung aking panganay. Kumbaga, pinapartition na nila yan sa isip nila kung anong gagawin. And then, boom, hindi bibigay. Kawawa naman.
Tayo po isang ayon talaga. Malaking bagay ang 13-month pay. At sana pag kumikita naman, gawin pang 14-month pay. Pero yung nag-issue na po sila ng labor advisory para ipaalala po na bago pa ang Desyembre ay ibigay na yung 13-month pay.
Okay. Paalala po. Anong klaseng paalala, Dole?
Yung labor advisory.
that will be coupled with
Yes.
inspection.
Did you do it hard copy? Or
So
email?
doon po sa nagbabiolate at hindi nagbibigyan ng 13-month pay, halimbawa, pipila ko sa action center ko sa January, ano pong magandang gawin kaya sa mga yon, sa mga ulupong, sa mga bad na yon, mga tao?
Inspect the establishment and employer.
Ano magandang gawin? Oh, yung mga very bad. Kasi,
Yung
kasi
sagot
po,
ko-
I assure you, by January 10 pataas, dadagsain na naman po ang action center ko ng mga pobre nating magagawa, nagreklamo sa pag hindi po nabigyan ka ng 13-month pay. So they end up na pupunta sa sari-sari store,
kindly
mangutang para
furnish-
sa kanilang
Yes.
Noche Buena, etc.
Mr. President, pakibigay rin po yung mga pupunta sa inyo na hindi napunta sa kaalaman ng dole para po makita rin nila at magawa nila ang kaya nilang gawin. Kung hindi po
Nabayaran.
nabayaran, kung
Kaya
hindi
po,
nila alam.
ang tanong ko nga po, paano
In
po?
short, share information
Yes.
with each other.
Ganun pong ginagawa ko, Madam President. Tumatawag ko sa Dole. In fairness sa Dole, sila po tinatawagan ko rin. Kaya ang tanong ko lang po, kasi this has been happening for so many years, parang regular, naging norm na eh. Kumbaga parang normal na lang na every year, merong mga kinakawawa. Yung sa akin sana, pahinto na natin na dapat every year, wala na pong kawawang mga manggagawa na ibibigay na po yung 13-month pay. Kasi nasa batas po yan at karapat-dapat na matanggap nila yan. Sabi ko nga po, marami sa kanila, kasi extra money yan, malayo pa lamang, pinaplano nila kung paano gastusin yung 13-month pay, kasama na dyan pang Noche Buena, tapos hindi pala nabigay, kawawang-kawawa naman sila. Parang napapabayaan
Tayo
natin.
po ay nakikiisa sa inyo na dapat ang minimum wage ay sundin. Patas yan eh. Dapat ang 13-month pay ay sundin bago Desyembre. Ito po ay merong tayong compliance rates by region. Yung 2022 at saka 2023, bibigay ko na lang po through Dole sa inyong tanggapan. It's a long matrix and the targets and the compliance per region. Pero more than these matrices, more than these numbers, it's really the proactive behavior of everyone concerned in Dole to make sure that not just the minimum wage, but the 13-month pay is followed closely, efficiently.
Siguro po, Madam President, Madam Sponsor, Mr. President, siguro yung DOLE, pagdating sa 13-month pay, pwede ho kayong makipag-MOA sa mga taga-LGU ito po akin lamang pong opinion, state kung workable po ito, na yung mga hindi nagbigay ng 13-month pay, hindi i-renew yung kanilang license sa BPLO hanggat hindi na ibibigay yung 13-month pay. How's that? Is that something doable? Legit ba yan?
Can you
Pwede
do
ba
a
yan?
MOA with LG?
Magkaroon ng MOA? Kapag hindi nyo binigay yung sa mga kumpanya na hindi nagbigay ng 13-month pay, kasi yearly po, ni-renew yung lisensya sa BPLO, sa LGU, hindi muna hindi muna ma-renew ang inyong license hanggat hindi nyo nakukomply yung 13-month pay. How's that?
So perhaps
Meron tayong dating mayor dito. Maybe he can give an opinion. Si Senator Win Gatchaga, who's a former mayor.
Madam Chair, if I may intervene, I think it's possible. The local government units have broad powers looking after the general welfare of their constituents. So in any violation of any law can be grounds to revoke the business permit being given by LGUs. Of course, the DOLE needs to link up with the different LGUs. For example, in Valenzuela, I know that we work very closely with DOLE because we have a lot of factories there, we have a lot of businesses, and we work very closely with DOLE, both in terms of industrial peace para wala pong mga strike at wala pong mga problema. And then if there are any violations against our workers, the local government takes a proactive role to warn the businesses through the use of that business license and business permit and licensing powers, Mr. President. So it's a good idea, and I appreciate the comments of the good Senator to bring this out to the fore. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Win Gatchaga.
yes, thank you, Senator Gatchalian. Mr. President, we were discussing a possible convergence MOA between the DILG and the DOLE, so that at least if we have the DILG on board, they can proactively advise and help monitor the business establishments in their LGUs.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor. Ngayon, tulong naman. Pure tulong to, Madam Sponsor, Mr. President. Now, NLRC, the past many years, palagi ko pong nababatikos ang NLRC dahil pupunta sa akin mga complainant, nanalo na sila sa kaso, pero pagdating sa oras na sila po ay dapat mabayaran na, parang paper victory lang sapagkat yung mga employer nagtatago na o nailipat na po yung kanilang mga assets sa iba't ibang mga pangalan. Nasisisi ko palagi yung mga sheriff. And then kasi sabihin ng sheriff, wala akong panggasolina. Kung minsan yung mga sheriff nakikiangkas pa doon po sa complainant kasi walang sasakyan, walang pamasahe. So, I talked to some people sa NLRC, na-realize ko na po kung bakit ganon. Naintindihan ko na po sila. Nakita ko po kung saan yung problema. So, kulang po sila sa budget. Wala bang DBM tayo rito? Madam Sponsor? Wala? Nagtaguan DBM?
We can, even if the LBRMO is here, and we would be happy to receive an amendment from the good Senator.
Good. Kasi, Madam President, nalaman ko lang na ang allowance ng isang sheriff kada buwan para i-execute yung order sa kanya na ma-implement yung pagkapanalo ng nagreklamo, doon sa 5,000 na yun, kasama na yung pamasahe niya, kasama na yung panggasolina niya o transportation, kuminsan umabot ng 20 po in a month yung mga pupuntahan niyang mga employer. So just imagine kung 5,000 yan at 20 ang na-assign sa kanya ng mga kaso na pupuntahan niya, na imbestigahan niya kung nasaan back account nito, kung may mga asset pa ba ito and all. So kulang na kulang po yung 5,000 per sheriff na allowance a month. So kung akong tatanungin, baka po natin doblehin yun para mas maging effective po yung ating mga sheriff. Nang sa hindi na po sila palagi magpalusot na walang gasolina na mag-aangkas pa sa motor ng mga complainant.
Yes, it's not just the NLRC, but all the other agencies that have sheriffs. If Your Honor can amend it, because it comes from the MOE, and yes, we can add, it's within our power, that's why we're discussing the budget.
Thank you.
You can increase the MOE, at least if Your Honor wants to help the sheriffs, it can be additional MOE in the NLRC budget under the DOLE. So we will await that amendment and submit it to the LBRMO so that can be adjusted.
Right. Okay. At dagdag po dyan, Madam Sponsor, nakita ko rin po yung problema na kulang po sila sa sheriff. kulang po. So kailangan siguro magdagdag tayo ng sheriff
That's
para
DBM.
mas maging
We have
epektibo
DBM
yung
here, right?
pag-implement ng writ of execution doon sa mga kumpanya na natalo. So kung kulang po yung sheriff, kaya pala yan isang dahilan kung bakit babalik po sa akin yung complainant, Sir, isang taon na po kami nanalo, hanggang ngayon hindi ko pa po nakolekta yung aking kong pinanalo. Malaman-laman ko, bukod dun sa kulang yung budget ng sheriff para bumiyahe, kulang din sila. So baka po natin dagdagan.
If the
Yung numbers of sheriff.
if the sheriff, that's plantilla, right? Yes, we would have to make a request with the DBM. We cannot. I don't think there's time in November, so that in January that could be made effective. But the DOLE would have to make a request for the 2025 NEP, right? So
Nakapending na po ata yan sa
is there a request?
sa Department of Budget, DBM.
There's a request pending in the DBM. We have a DBM representative in the gallery now. I'm not certain if the DBM.
Okay ba
would
sa
have
DOLE
the answer.
na dagdagan yung sheriff? Mukha kaya ata ng DOLE.
No, of course they want that.
Okay.
There's a pending request.
Kasi nakita ko ganun eh.
No, there's a pending request of NLRC for an increase in provisions, line items for sheriffs. Yes, there's a pending request, Mr. President.
Okay. So there's a pending request. Yan po yung gusto ko mangyari sana na madagdagan po silang tauhan at madagdagan din po yung sweldo ng mga sheriff nang sa gayon hindi po na magiging paper victory lamang yung panalo po ng mga mga kababayan, pobreng mga magagawa na nag-file ng case
Yes.
sa NRC at after manalo, after so many
Yes.
years, wala pa lang napupunta.
Just so that it's clear, the allowances of the existing sheriffs, Mr. President, can be adjusted with the amendment of the good senator under MOE, and that we will readily accept, and we welcome that. The additional hiring of sheriffs is a pending request of the NLRC DOLE with the DBM. It has not yet been acted on favorably because that would fall under PS or Personnel Services and would have to be approved by DBM. There is no time until the time that the President signs the budget, hopefully in December, for the DBM to approve this, unless it's highly improbable, imposible na. Then that could be worked on in the coming year so that in the next year's NEP, the additional PS for sheriffs could be included.
Okay, and the last
Thank
but not
you.
the least, doon po sa mailing system nila, napag-alaman ko rin po na kapos po sila. Hindi po enough yung naipapadala na bibigyan na budget para mapabilis po
MOE.
yung pagpapadala ng mga communications doon po sa mga concerned
Buti napupunan
companies.
nyo. Sige, salamat po at napupunan nyo at kami po ay natutuwa na kayo po ay mag-amend para po sa MOE karagdagan for the sheriffs and for the mailing system. Thank you.
Okay.
We will accept. Thank you, Mr.
And
President.
NLRC, nakita nyo, sinuportahan ko kayo, pero magtrabaho kayo. Dahil kapag hindi, babalikan ko kayo. Maraming salamat, Madam.
I assure you, Mr. President, nagtatrabaho.
Madam Sponsor, thank you very much.
Salamat. Thank you very much for the very good interventions of the kind senator. Yes, and as I said, both the special provisions and the addition for MOE for NRLC will be awaited and accepted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'd also like to thank Senator Tulfo. Minsan napapanood ko po yung programa niya at halos araw-araw yung mga complaints are labor-related. So you really see his sense of passion and wanting to solve these problems of the common masses. So salamat po, Senator Tulfo. Majority Leader?
President, may I move that we recognize our distinguished colleague from the province of Camarines Norte and Nueva Ecija, no other than Senator Robin Hood Padilla. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Our distinguished colleague, Senator Robin Hood Padilla, is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, ang aming lakan at sa atin pong pinunong mayorya. Gusto ko lamang pong magpasalamat kay Senator Alan Cayetano at kay Senator Joel Villanueva sapagkat nabigyan po kaagad ng, kumbaga, jet fuel itong aking committee report sapagkat sa inyo pong mga iminungkahi ang lahat po ng pagod na ginawa ng chairwoman ng MTRCB magmula po nang siya ay naupo, siya po ay palagi ang unang bisita sa opisina at hindi po siya nagsasawa na i-follow up itong panukala na ito na inilatag po ng tatlong ilang beto? 5 na mga masugid na mga senador, Senator Win Gatchalian, Senator Tolentino, Senator ang inyo pong lingkod, Senator Lapid, at Senator Estrada. At ito pong mga senador na ito ay tunay po na naglalakad at talaga pong nakikipaglaban upang ito pong panukala na ito, strengthening and expanding the mandate, capabilities, and organizational structure of the Movie and Television Review and Classification. Classification, malinaw po yun, board, hindi po censorship. Amending for the purpose Presidential Decree number 1986. Muli po, ako po ay bumabati lang sa atin.
So you really see his sense of passion and wanting to solve these problems of the common masses. So salamat po, Senator Tulfo. Majority Leader?
President, may I move that we recognize our distinguished colleague from the province of Camarines Norte and Nueva Ecija, no other than Senator Robin Hood Padilla. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Our distinguished colleague, Senator Robin Hood Padilla, is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, ang aming lakan at sa atin pong pinunong mayorya. Gusto ko lamang pong magpasalamat kay Senator Alan Cayetano at kay Senator Joel Villanueva sapagkat nabigyan po kaagad ng, kumbaga, jet fuel itong aking committee report sapagkat sa inyo pong mga iminungkahi ang lahat po ng pagod na ginawa ng chairwoman ng MTRCB magmula po nang siya ay naupo, siya po ay palagi ang unang bisita sa opisina at hindi po siya nagsasawa na i-follow up itong panukala na ito na inilatag po ng tatlong ilang beto? 5 na mga masugid na mga senador, Senator Win Gatchalian, Senator Tolentino, Senator ang inyo pong lingkod, Senator Lapid, at Senator Estrada. At ito pong mga senador na ito ay tunay po na naglalakad at talaga pong nakikipaglaban upang ito pong panukala na ito, strengthening and expanding the mandate, capabilities, and organizational structure of the Movie and Television Review and Classification. Classification, malinaw po yun, board, hindi po censorship. Amending for the purpose Presidential Decree number 1986. Muli po, ako po ay bumabati lang sa atin pong napakasipag na chairwoman at sa ibinigay pong tulong ni Senator Alan at ni Senator Joel Villanueva. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo.
Salamat.
Mr. President, Senator Francis Tolentino is also seeking the floor. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Our distinguished colleague, Senator Francis Tolentino, who is also in the movie industry. Because he used to produce the Metro Manila Film Festival.
Yes,
Yes,
Mr. President.
when he was
that's why-
president, when he was the chairman of the MMDA, he was the chairman of the Metro Manila Film Festival. Mr.
Sumasakay
President.
sa float yan.
Yes, Mr.
Your
President.
Honors.
That's why I'm trying to, I sought the floor because I'm trying, I just recalled my association with that measure filed by Senator Padilla, and I now recall my brief participation as well as my relevance then in having been part of the movie industry in a short period of time, not just for the Metro Manila Film Festival, but for the Cell Phone Film Festival, for the Indie Films Festival, and for the International Indie Films Festival, which I initiated half a decade ago, Mr. President. So I support this initiative as well as the upgrade and the immediate passage of the budget proposal for the MTRCB, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Tolentino, for your support. It's a budget ng MTRCB.
Mr. President, Senator Robin Hood Padilla would like to add something more, Mr. President. I
Yes, our
move that he be
distinguished
recognized.
colleague, Senator Robin Hood Padilla.
Opo, maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, na gusto ko lamang din pong banggitin na ang lahat po ng aming mga inisyatibo, yaan po ay inumpisahan lahat ni Senator Grace po. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much po.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President, I'm sure everyone's waiting for this motion, and because there being no other reservation for interpellation, I move that we close the period of interpellations and debate and consider the budget of Movie and Television Review and Classification Board to be deemed submitted for the body's consideration. I so move, Mr. President.
Before I act on the motion, I would just like to congratulate the men and women of the MTRCB because napapanood ko yung ano ninyo. Ma'am Lala, napapanood ko yung commercial ninyo eh. Yung mga Kiko the Explorer, di ba? Ano ba papanoorin ng mga pamilya? It's very catchy. My kids like that, to watch that. Before they watch the film, yan ang pinapalabas nila. And it explains the ratings, di ba? Yung R rating, general patronage. Maganda siya, very clear and concise. So congratulations. Because I'm old school. I'm still an old school movie buff. Once a week, dinadala ko yung anak ko to the cinema to watch movies. So, it's iba eh. Iba yung napapanood mo na sa TV, iba talaga yung experience na napapanood mo sa pelikula, sa malaking movie house. So, let's continue supporting that. Let's continue promoting that. So, there being no objection to the motion of the Majority Floor Leader, the budget of the movie... meron pa ba? Ay, sige. Senator Escudero, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, just to pursue the point of Senator Padilla. The power of the MTRCB is to classify, just so we could all understand it. Not to censor, not to cut anything. In fact, if you identify something as R18, syempre yung producer, ayaw yun, gusto niya, wider audience, para mas malaki ang kita, hindi kayo yung puputol, sila ang puputol. Would that be correct?
Sila po mag-adjust.
Sila nga yung puputol kung may puputulin man.
Yes.
Not the MTRCB.
Not the MTRCB.
But the MTRCB will say, ano to eh, R18 to because of these scenes. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Now, legally, can someone publicly exhibit an X-rated film in the Philippines?
No, Your Honor.
Because of what law?
Anti-pornography.
Under Presidential Decree number 1986, Mr. President.
Entitled?
Creating the Movie and Television Review and Classification Board and the implementing rules and regulations. No, the title is Creating the Movie and Television Review and Classification Board.
So the power, the legal basis not to allow the public showing of X-rated films is in the charter of the MTRCB, not in a separate law?
Yes, it is within the charter, Mr. President, of the MTRCB.
And there is no separate law, Mr. President, Your Honor?
I don't think so.
I believe there is. I believe there is, Mr. President, and that would
What
be the
is that,
stronger basis
Can
because
you please
According to
enlighten
the
this?
Secretariat, is Republic Act
7610?
9775.
9775?
Yeah.
again,
But this is child pornography, anti-child pornography.
Yes, Mr. President, I stand corrected. It is Republic Act 9775. What is the title? Anti-Child Pornography Act.
so pag hindi child,
Paglolo. Wala na manunod. Kakadiri.
no, the point I'm driving at, Mr. President, is if the charter of the MTRCB gives it the power to classify, it's simply implementing a provision of existing law to ban, for example, X-rated films from being publicly shown. Because when they classify it as X, then it falls under the special law, then it cannot be publicly exhibited. Would
Yes.
that be a correct statement, Mr. President?
That is correct, Mr. President.
Your Honor. And given that the title of the charter itself says Movie, Television, Radio Classification Board, the MTRCB does not have power over the Internet.
No. No.
Who has power over the Internet, Mr. President, Your Honor, if any?
Maybe it is the DICT, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I don't think it is in the mandate of the ICT to classify or say that certain sites, and I don't even think they have the competence, if at all, to say that certain sites should not be allowed in the Philippines.
Well, according to the chairperson of the MTRCB, the ICT can take it down if there are complaints, Mr. President.
Yes, the DICT has the power and authority to take it down, but who gets to decide?
Maybe they will assess, Mr. President. Maybe the secretary or his subordinates.
The point I'm driving at,
Assess.
Mr. President, is that is not within the core competence of the DICT, and I think at some point in time, the MTRCB should be brought into the picture,
That is-
either via the bill of Senator Padilla or by an amendment to their charter.
That is why there is a bill filed by some of our colleagues headed by Senator Padilla to expand the powers of the MTRCB.
To
Mr.
include
President.
that.
To include that, Mr. President.
And one last point, Mr. President, Your Honor. The issue pertaining to suspension of certain shows because of certain
Showtime,
conduct
Mr.
or words
President.
stated. I'm sorry, Mr.
Showtime.
Yes, specifically. Just to clarify, since that particular show is considered GP, right? So
PG,
if
PG.
PG?
Parental guidance.
PG siya?
Yes.
Since it's PG, that they violated the PG status was the reason for the suspension. Would that be correct?
I see the chairperson nodding, Mr. President.
It's not because of the power really to sanction certain conduct, but the fact that the classification given by MTRCB was violated by that particular scene, word, or act. That would be a correct interpretation?
That particular scene, act, and others. And among 11 other cases.
So a
Mr.
solution,
President.
if at all, would be, if that would be persistent, then a new classification can be, correct me if I'm wrong, given, and viewership limited. Is that an option on the part of MTRCB?
Well, according to the charter of the MTRCB, you're automatically PG if you are shown live on TV, Mr. President.
Because you cannot control what's going to go on.
Yes, you're correct, Mr. President.
Understood, Mr. President. We learned something new today. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, distinguished sponsor, and I'd like to thank the MTRCB family. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. So without further
Chairperson Marius Corpus. And we'd like to move that we recognize the distinguished sponsor of the measure, no other than Senator Jinggoy Estrada, and to interpolate our minority leader, Senator Coco Pimentel. I so move, Mr. President.
Our distinguished sponsor, Senator Jinggoy Estrada, is recognized to sponsor the budget of the GCG and to interpolate the distinguished minority floor leader, Senator Coco Pimentel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we are presenting for the approval of the body the proposed 2024 budget of the Governance Commission for Government-Owned or Controlled Corporations, or the GCG. The total new appropriations of the GCG for fiscal year 2024, as proposed by your Committee on Finance, is 202,765,000. This is the same amount that was proposed by the Department of Budget and Management under the National Expenditure Program and by the House of Representatives under the General Appropriations Bill. The proposed budget for 2024 is 51% lower than the appropriations in 2023, which is equivalent to a reduction of 209,936,000. The whole GCG family, led by its chairperson, Marius Corpus, is present here today. Mr. President, we are ready to reply to the questions from our colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, our sponsor mentioned the level of the budget of GCG at 202 million for next year. Is it higher or lower than this year's budget for
It's
GCG?
lower, Mr. President.
Lower? By how much?
Lowered by 209,936,000.
Okay, can we get an explanation as to nangalahati po bale, nangalahati. So what programs, activities and projects of the GCG might be affected with this tremendous reduction, Mr. President?
Well, first of all, the personal services, it was reduced by 114,291,000. The MOE was reduced by 66,245,000, and the capital outlay with zero budget, it was reduced from the 2023 GAAT of 29,400,000.
Sige po, siguro we will assume yung capital outlay baka built na or
Yes.
procured na.
The reason, if I may
yes,
add,
Papa.
Mr. President, the reason for the reduction of the personal services
Yes.
is that there was a low utilization rate, Mr. President. The following items significantly contribute to the observed decrease of budget of the GCG. First is the budget for the compensation position classification system amounting to 48 million is only proposed once every 3 years. The budget for the CPCS is not included in the proposed fiscal year 2024 budget. And the basis of the budget for the personal services is the actual filled position of the Governance Commission as of April 28 of 2023 as compared to the 100% filled plantilla position of GCG for 2023. And the entire budget for the capital outlay of this commission was cut in the proposed 2024 budget, Mr. President.
Hindi, ilan po yung authorized positions ng GCG at ilan po yung field nila, Mr. President?
The authorized positions, ilan yung authorized? The authorized position, according to the chairperson, is 236.
And then field?
Unfilled. The filled positions are 106, Mr. President.
So, taken against them yun, bale? Because the reduction.
Yes, that is why the DBM only approved
Kaya nga.
the 106 filled positions. And they are currently hiring, they are currently hiring personnel for the unfilled position. And that is why there might be a problem for next year's budget kasi nga hanggang dito na lang kasi tataas yung kanilang PS.
Meron po
dahil-
MPBF. Meron naman po MPBF. Meron tayong MPBF items sa
Oh, yes,
budget.
yes,
Apo.
yes.
So, the GCG is under new leadership. Tama? So,
Yes,
okay. So, hindi natin sila
he was appointed August 4 of this year,
Sige
Mr. President, replacing, and the commissioners, how many commissioners do they have? They have 3
Can
commissioners.
we get the names of all the new leaders of GCG? Ano pa?
The chairperson is former undersecretary of the Department of Interior and Local Government, Mr. Marius Corpus. And the commissioners are Attorney Brian Keith Hosaka and Attorney Geraldine Marie Berberabe Martinez. Nasaan? Is she here? Sino? That's it, Mr. President.
3 of them. Oo nga, tatlo. Okay.
One chairperson and 2 commissioners.
Yes, okay. Miss Berberabi was here earlier.
Yes, I think she had to go to
I saw her.
Malacanang,
Yes, I saw.
Your Honor.
Okay, so what was this? So, sabi nga ni Senator Chis kanina, we learn at least one new thing every day. Ano po yung sinabi ng sponsor na it is a part of PS but funded every 3 years? Ngayon lang po ako naka-encounter na. What is that, Mr. President?
The CPCS, this is the
What is that?
budget for the compensation and position classification system. Your Honor.
Do all the agencies get that, Mr. President?
Compensation for all GOCCs. All GOCCs, Your Honor.
And then it's budgeted every 3 years? Parang cycle siya for the GOCCs? Because why every 3 years? What is it for? What is that item for?
It is only the GCG because the law requires them to review every 3 years the compensation and position classification system, Mr. President.
This is the amount. This is the amount you need to perform that particular mandate. Malaki din po, I mean, 60 million po ba yun?
48?
Ha?
48 million, Mr.
48 million.
President.
Malaki din po. So to review, kasi itong GCG, Mr. President, Mr. Sponsor, parang nagsuscoring yan eh. Parang
Yes.
may report card
They-
ng mga GOCCs,
They
ginigrade na nila.
evaluate, Your Honor. No?
Kaya nga, dapat model, ano din kayo eh, you're a model agency. Kaya wag kayong 200 plus ang authorized ninyo, tapos ang field ninyo 100 plus lamang. Kasi baka pag i-grade naman kayo ng ibang ahensya, kayo naman po ang lumagapak sa inyong report card, Mr. President. So just be conscious of that. Alam ko you grade it. What is that purpose? You grade them so that they can implement their financial parang bonuses or what?
For their performance-based bonus according to
Ayun,
the
oo.
chairperson, Mr.
So you
Mr.
grade
President.
them pagka pumasa, then if they have a plan for a performance-based bonus, they can implement it, execute it. Pag hindi pumasa, they cannot do it.
Well, they have to submit it to the commission for their approval, Mr. President.
Do you approve the terms of the performance-based bonus, but I think you also assess the performance of the GOCC per some criteria that you set. Is that correct? Ganon.
Well, I see the chairperson nodding. I think he agrees.
Yes,
with your
yes,
statement,
that's how
Mr.
I
President.
understand what they do. Okay, how many GOCCs are under the jurisdiction of the GCG?
82.
Subject to that grading or report submission process, Mr. President? 100.
We have 118 GOCCs.
Okay. How
Mr.
many are
President.
complying with your system of reportorial requirements?
77. Where?
So itong 2 and 3, natanong ko na.
Well, according to the chairperson, Your Honor, 98.71% or 78 GOCCs with complete and compliant submissions have been issued authorization to implement the CPCS as of October 25 this year, Mr. President.
So yung mga, those who are, no, are the other GOCCs not complying or not passing? They are submitting reports but they are not passing to your criteria. 180 ba yun? Madadagdagan na isa.
Ito.
Okay, what about those not complying? Okay.
Perform TBB, performance based. No sanction, okay. Well, Your Honor, there are 82 GOCCs that have complied, and the rest have not complied.
Not
And there is no law or specific sanction, Mr. President, to those
not
non-compliant agencies.
Pero may effect sa kanila.
Yes, of
Right?
course.
Okay. The
They
laws,
will not be eligible. They will not be eligible for the PBB or the performance-based bonus,
yes.
Mr.
Kahit may plano silang gawin yun, magiging illegal if they implement it without complying
Yes, you are
with the
correct,
law.
Mr. President.
Okay, so at least alam nila na meron pong effect. Okay. Hindi ba kayo nadagdagan ng isa pa to be subject to your jurisdiction? Is the Maharlika Investment Corporation
Yes, it
supposed to
is,
be a GOCC? Is that counted sa 118 or will make it 118 plus 1?
Not yet, Mr. President.
So even that Maharlika Investment Corporation will have to submit the reports if should they have a performance-based bonus. Actually, nasa law, meron eh.
Yes, Mr. President, you are correct.
Is the GCG more than just receiving and evaluating the report submitted to you, do you also concern yourselves with making sure that the functions, the transactions of a special creature like the Maharlika Investment Corporation would be more transparent and understandable by the public, Mr. President?
Mr. President, once the Maharlika Investment Corporation is operationalized, the corporation will be subject to the performance, transparency, and disclosure requirements of the Governance Commission. Sections 3M and 4, number 4 of Republic Act 10149, subject GFIs under GCG's oversight to ensure financial viability, fiscal discipline, good governance, and extraordinary diligence over the care of state rights and GOCC assets. GCG, in the performance of its duties under Section 5C of RA 10149, actively exercises state ownership rights in GOCCs through the institutionalization of a performance evaluation scorecard. The GCG has partnered with the Asian Development Bank to capacitate its key personnel on understanding and monitoring the management of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, Mr. President.
Yes, ito kasing Maharlika Investment Corporation is one of its kind GOCC. First time we were attempting to form a sovereign wealth fund, and we did not form a sovereign wealth fund. Okay? We retained the phrases or the phrase sovereign wealth fund. Yet this is a fund where we allow private sector to invest, and we allow foreigner private individuals also to invest. So this is a very special kind of creature. Will the GCG subject the Maharlika Investment Corporation to special rules, or just the regular run-of-the-mill rules of the GCG applicable to the rest of the 118 GOCCs, Mr. President? Anong kaya performance evaluation ng kanila?
Mr. President, that is why this GCG had partnered with the ADB to formulate possible rules and regulations that will be applicable to the Maharlika Investment Fund, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President, medyo give this some special attention and study. Kasi this is supposed to be to generate funds. It meant to generate funds, but then it also to implement developmental projects na walang return. And then you will perform a performance evaluation of such a corporation, which is run already supposed to be by the best minds in the financial industry, Mr. President. So are we sure the GCG can evaluate the performance of such a group of people, Mr. President?
Well, under the law that we passed, it's called now the Republic Act 11954, the establishment of the Maharlika Investment Fund, there is a joint congressional oversight committee, and there shall be created a Maharlika Investment Fund Joint Congressional Oversight Committee to oversee, monitor, and evaluate the implementation of this act. The MIF-JCOC, or the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee shall be composed of 7 members, each from the House of Representatives and the Senate. And the role of the GCG in the operations of the Maharlika Investment Corporation is that Sections 3 and 4 of RA 1049 or 10149 or the GCG law subject GFIs under GCG's oversight to ensure financial viability, which I mentioned earlier, Mr. President, na fiscal discipline, good governance, and extraordinary diligence over the care of state rights and GOCC assets.
Siguro, you have metrics that you use, mga ganon? Ratio and proportion, mga ganon? Yeah.
Yes, Mr. President, the performance evaluation scorecard.
Scorecard, kaya nga, yun yun, composed of formula, ganun, formula. Sige po, so, we are here to support the GCG kasi very critical yung nature, yung inyong tasks, especially now that we all admit that the Maharlika Investment Corporation is under your jurisdiction. So is there a wish list from the GCG, Mr.
Yes,
President?
there is, Mr.
Magkano pong
President.
total ang gusto na?
May wish list yan. Sana? Ito?
Ito, inote natin magkano, tsaka para sa amin. Sa banggatin naman ni Chairman.
Nabasa ko yan.
Sige, note niyo.
Okay, wish list, Mr. President. Additional personal service amounting to 84 million, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or the OECD, Asia 2024 meeting funds.
Okay.
I think they have this event, which will be held here in Manila next year, Mr. President, and it will entail around 4.5 million pesos, and increase in operational capacity amounting to 15.1 billion pesos, and the enhancement of major ICT projects and capabilities for a total of 168.4 million.
Yung 4.5 million, that's the amount for hosting an OECD event?
Yes, Mr. President.
So we are not a member of OECD, but what's our business hosting them, Mr. President?
Well, the GCG has been chosen by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development as the host for the 17th meeting of the OECD Asia Network on Corporate Governance of State-Owned Enterprises in 2024. The OECD Asia Network meeting provides a forum to share experiences, identify good practices, and develop recommendations for reform to improve state ownership practices and strengthen the OECD guidelines. The Governance Commission plans to invite around 200 international and local high-level officials to participate. 22 countries are targeted to be represented in the meeting. 4.5 million is requested for this
Yes, sir.
activity, Mr. President.
So, ang request na lang siguro natin, if the results could be published so that we will all benefit from the meeting of the top-level
Discussion.
Yes, the top-level
Or
discussion.
dialogue.
Yes. Thank you. Last point, Mr. President. Basta we're here to support the GCG. Very critical na po ngayon kayo. Noon pa, pero all the more now. Ito po, just in a news report in the Inquirer, the DBP is challenging the GCG's pronouncement that the GCG has the power to determine whether DBP and the Land Bank of the Philippines should be merged without going through legislation. So, may we get the position? Was this a pronouncement of the old leadership or of the current leadership, Mr. President?
Well, Mr. President, in a letter dated November 29 of 2022, the Department of Finance endorsed for GCG's consideration and approval its proposal to merge with the Land Bank and the Development Bank of the Philippines, with Land Bank as the surviving entity. And the Congress has delegated to the President, by virtue of Section 5 of the GOCC Governance Act of 2011, the power to reorganize and merge GOCCs. Section 5A of the GOCC Governance Act of 2011 provides that upon determination by the GCG that it is to the best interest of the state that a GOCC should be recognized, merged, streamlined, abolished, or privatized, it shall implement the reorganization, merger, or streamlining of the GOCC unless otherwise directed by the President. Thus, Section 5A authorizes the merger of Land Bank and DBP without the need to enact a new law.
So that's a November 2022 letter. So does the present leadership agree with what is there?
Well, the proposed merger, Your Honor, is still under further evaluation and study, Mr. President.
Kasi ang aking position, Mr. President, these two BOCCs or governmental entities have their own charters, which are republic acts or laws. So, in effect, if we merge them and then may surviving entity,
Is Land
we
Bank.
practically repealed the charter of the disappearing entity and amended the charter of the surviving entity. So, and without any law. So the question is, can that be done by virtue of section of that section 5 of a certain law, Mr. President?
That is why, Mr. President, it is still under evaluation and
sige.
it still needs further study, Mr. President. And according to the officials of the GCG, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of the Governance Commission in the case of Representative Edsel Lagman versus Executive Secretary Paquito Choa Jr. et al. That was dated November 3 of 2020, and Prospero Pichay Jr. versus GCG et al. On November 3 of 2020, Mr. President.
But maybe the issue in that case is the law, constitutionality of the law creating the GCG. Hindi naman po yung ang aking point is the DBP and the LBP merger, Mr. President. Should it be done through law or can it be done through section 5 of that particular law, Mr. President? I'm not questioning the constitutionality of the GCG. So ano ba ibang pwedeng tanong OGCC, DOJ, OSGC, ano ba ang GCG?
This is according to Supreme Court.
Ano?
Well, according to the chairperson of the GCG, Section 5 of the GOCC says it is a valid delegation of legislative power.
In that particular case,
That is according to the Supreme Court. Your
why was it at issue? Why was Section 5 at issue in that particular case? What were the GOCCs involved in the case?
undue delegation.
Tignan nyo na lang, kuha nyo na yung case natin, basahin nyo na lang.
Undue legislation of delegation. Delegation of abolition of Well, the issue here is the undue delegation of the power to merge or abolish the GOCCs, Mr. President.
Yes, naging issue siya because there was a merger of two GOCCs.
Merge ba? Meron ba merger na nangyari? Ha? Ano na?
Baka theoretical question lang po. So, must have been decided on a technicality kung ganun. So anyway, Mr. President, we got that case title. Basahin na lang din po namin. Siguro last question na lang. On the DBP-LBP merger, siyempre kumukuha tayo ng opinion. In the setup of government, what government entity should give us the guiding opinion whether it can be done administratively by the President or by legislation? Opinion lang ha, yung opinion. So is it the GCG, the OSG, OGCC, or the DOJ? Yan lang pong naiisip ko na may mga parang law firm, law office function eh.
Better be sure naman.
should be.
Well, there are
Should be this-
differing opinions, Mr. President.
But
On
let
my
me get
left and
the,
on my right.
No, the leadership's opinion. Is
Well,
it is it you? Do you
According to
claim that
them, it is the GCG,
okay,
Mr.
that's the
President.
claim of the GCG. Okay, that you should be the ones issuing the opinion to guide us. To guide lang to, hindi naman to
Yes.
binding. Okay, if you are that entity, when are you coming up with the said opinion?
You have timeline? You have a timeline? Well, they do not have any timeline, but they are still in the process of collating the comments from the various GOCCs.
Hindi, di BPL-BP lang po to merger. I mean, you should not take your time. Dapat siguro may self-imposed deadline din po tayo.
Well,
If ito, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, if the GCG claims that it is the proper agency to render an opinion whether it can be done under Section 5 of their law, so therefore administratively, or do we need Congress to act to amend the two charters? Yun lang yun, opinion. If you are that correct entity to issue that opinion, yun lang tanong ko. Give us a self-imposed deadline for you to come up with the opinion. We will not necessarily agree, pero at least meron tayong pinag-uusapan.
well, Mr. President, I think they have a difficulty answering that question. I think they do not have yet a timeline to give because they are still in the process of studying it and evaluating the merger, Mr. President. It is still under review, Mr. President.
Well, at sa iba po yung hindi viability yung question ko po, Mr. President, on the legality. So maybe the GCG is not the correct agency. So anyway, we will just answer the question ourselves, Mr. President. Mag-research din po kami on what should be that agency to give us the initial lang naman eh. The initial guiding opinion. We don't have to agree with the opinion. It also can be the wrong position. It can turn out to be the wrong position, Mr. President. So, okay. Okay. Sino ba nagbibigay? Ang Office of the Executive Secretary, nagbibigay din ba ng Presidential Legal Council? Gusto ko lang mag-opinion kasi. Parang hindi sila kasi.
Mr. President, right now I was informed that the GCG is consulting the following agencies like the COA, the BSP, the PCC, DOF, and the DBM, Mr. President. They're still consulting with each other.
Parang
Mr.
as part
President.
of preliminary background research. Pero
Yeah.
I suggest we put a deadline po, Mr. Chairman and GCG kasi. Otherwise, parang wala tayong starting position at subject to of our debates. So at any rate, Mr. President, I reiterate my full support to the GCG, and we will go over the wish list, the requested augmentation of the budget of the GCG. So we wish them all the best, Mr. I know they're new to the agency, pero we wish you all the best in your enormous but important tasks. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also.
Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much to our distinguished minority floor leader.
Wala na Majority Leader.
Are there anyone of these gentlemen going to ask? I can recognize them directly. If not, we ask for a minute suspension. Session suspended for a minute.
Senator Pimentel is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Napakagandang interpellation po ni Senator Robin Padilla. Dami nating natutunan. Namulat yung ating mga mata sa actual situation at pati dun sa ating mga past commitments na dapat Di natin nalilimutan. Ang magandang point na lumabas po is meron pala tayong 2-year left in the time frame that we have to comply with our commitments under the decommissioning annex.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so
2 years.
And then, tama ba yung pagkaintindi ko? For the 2024 NEP, we are not funding anything doon? Or kulang?
Kulang na kulang talaga.
Yung ba yung 10% na nabanggit kanina? Or less than 10% na nabanggit kanina? Yun po yun?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, yeah, so, maling strategy po yata yun. If we have only 2 more years. Is it 2 more years or 2 more years after 2024? Or 3 more years from now? Ano ba?
Your Honor, supposed to be, the decommissioning phase is only up to year 2022. But it was extended up
Extended
to
by-
2025. So, more or less, 2 years remaining, Your Honor.
Sige po, pero parang maling strategy, parang hindi proportional yung ating budgeting, no? Parang may balloon. We need to fund it in bulk during the last few years. No? So there's something wrong with our approach. So siguro if the secretary can discuss this budget sa cabinet, you know, that the Senate has his support on this. Pero of course, it's a question of the availability of resources kasi 9.7 billion is what we need to fund for the next 2 years, bale. Okay, sige po. We get it, Mr. President. Oh, sige. So with that realization, may wish list pa ba ang OPAPRO? Do you have a wish list for 2024? Na hindi pa po nakasama sa aming Senate Committee report. Tandaan natin, ang Senate Committee report namin, saan ba yun? Increased eh. Even increase your budget. Yes.
Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
yung kanilang wishlist ay nakalagay naman sa unprogram.
Ayun. Okay.
Unfunded, unprogram.
Unprogram.
Ha? Unprogram. So, unprogram, Your Honor.
Entirety of the wish list, nasa unprogram.
Yes, Your
Okay,
Honor.
okay.
It's a total of 899 million, 766 thousand.
Okay. The budget reflects the priorities of the administration. So kung lahat po ng inyong wishlist ay in-accommodate sa budget na prepared by the executive branch, that means you are really being prioritized by the administration.
No, it's the Senate version, Your Honor. The ones who placed
Yes,
this,
sir. But our Senate version, ang adjustment natin, 51 million lang. 51.5 million. Internally. Nag-adjust po tayo internally, meaning to say we decrease some amounts and then we increase some items to the same amount. So,
Yes, Your
hindi
Honor.
gumalaw yung... So, since yan na po yung pinag-usapan natin, may we know saan anong adjustments ni subcommittee? Ano po yung ginalaw natin sa amounts sa OPAPRO budget, Mr. President?
we have realigned 51 million from the capital outlay to MOOA to fund the coordination, monitoring, and evaluation activities of the Pamana program, Your Honor. So, plus the DAN program.
Yes, okay. So, yun program, pag-usapan na lang. Well, anyway, basta it reflects the priorities of the administration, pero better still sana kung nasa program. But at least, nandyan po tayo sa budget in DN program. And we have a chance may chance pa rin ma-fund po yan, Mr. President. Siguro, appeal na lang to the Secretary, to the entire office to address the COA items. No? So, try your best, try your very best. Minanan lang po ninyo yung issues na yon. And then, na-accommodate po ba natin yung request ng National Amnesty Commission, Mr. President? Kasama dun sa ating
Yes,
committee report?
yes, Your Honor. Kasama po lahat.
Okay. Ang figure kasi sa akin, ang request is 60 million. Paano natin na-accommodate yun when we made adjustments of 50...
The 60 million na
51.5 million. Ang
60
adjustments
million.
natin, 51.5. Ang request is 60 million. Paano natin na-accommodate po yun?
no, it's included in the program, Your Honor.
Saan
The
program
60.
na ilagay?
60. Ang program.
Sige, and then, can we get the reaction of the Secretary? There's a request that we introduce a special provision that the amount of 88,469,000 appropriated herein under the locally funded projects shall be lodged directly with NAC, the National Amnesty Commission, and used exclusively for the operationalization and implementation of the programs, activities, and projects of the NAC. Is this-
Yes, Your Honor, it's already included in our committee report. Yes,
Thank
Your
you
Honor.
very much. So, very proactive ang ating subcommittee chair na yung aking opisina ay behind na sa curve. Nagawa na. So, ako papunta pa lang, pabalik na si chairman na done that na po siya.
But it's not an program, ha? Program yan. Program, di ba? Sa special provisions.
Special provision. Okay, the special provision. Yes, siguro. No. So do we have to be clear that we are referring to an appropriation in the program?
Additional na po itong 60, Your Honor.
In addition, Patro.
No, in
Okay.
addition ito. Opo.
In addition to the 88
88,
million
yeah.
po. Okay, thank
In
you.
addition to the 88.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So yung 60 million, when if ever these are funded and then released, will follow the spirit of the special provision, directly lodged with the NAC.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ganun na mangyayari. Okay. For as long as that's clear, Mr. President, okay na po, Mr. President. May we get, siguro last topic na lang po ito, no? May we get the inputs from the office and from the Secretary on what measures are being taken to address the killings and disappearances associated with communist insurgency, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. President, Your Honor, OPAPRO differs to the law enforcement agencies on the measures to address killings and disappearance associated with communist groups. So, makipagtulungan na lang sa law enforcement agencies, Your Honor.
Wala ba tayong parang filosofiya na gusto natin i-share sa kanila o panawagan na, Mr. President? Do we want to be that detached, Mr. President, and
Yes, Your Honor, OPAPRO, in coordination with all members of the security cluster, is advocating for the observance of the rule of law. Yung kanilang rules of engagement na minimaintain ngayon ng Armed Forces of the Philippines ay emphasis noon ay talagang observance of the rule of law. Yung rules of engagement na ino-observe by the Armed Forces of the Philippines. And it is being monitored by the whole security cluster, not only the Department of National Defense, but kasama na diyan lahat, pati na yung DOJ, yung National Security Council, OPAPRO, they are always saying to it that the rules of engagement with emphasis on the observance of the rule of law ay talaga ma-observe in all undertakings by the operating units, Your Honor.
yeah, and the rule of law puts high value to human life, Mr. President?
Yes,
Basta't implied na po yan. Kita po. For the same. Mr. President, Senator Tolentino wants to interject something. Sige, pare, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, yes, Senator.
And if I may add, Mr. President, Your Honor, the Armed Forces of the Philippines is very consistent. Every year, topping the list of most trusted government agency, national government agency. So palagi po yan, every year, number one palagi ang Armed Forces of the Philippines, most trusted. So, siguro, that's quite an indicator that the rule of law is really being observed as far as the rules of engagement of the Armed Forces is concerned.
If okay with the chair recognizes Senator Tolentino.
The permission of the two gentlemen, just a minor interjection, which I think is germane to the topic at hand. Maybe know from the good sponsor his views on the latest intervention made by a United Nations rapporteur who was here for 10 days, lambasting NTF LCAC program for being anti-human rights because of some perceived violations relative to climate change initiatives. Perhaps the query made by the good minority leader has something to do likewise with this seemingly intrusive misobservance of a foreigner named Mr. Fry delving into our affairs and as to how we should end communist insurgency here. Palagay niyo, tama ba yung sinabi nila na may nakialam na naman, lumabas ngayon, kalalabas lang ata ngayon yung statement?
Maybe, Your Honor, he's one of the most misinformed foreigner who set foot in this country. Baka ang narinig lang niya ng mga na side ay yun doon lang sa kabilang side. Hindi niya napakinggan yung side ng gobyerno.
So was the OPAP crew involved during the visit preparations or of this UN observer? This is a breaking news. Palalabas lang po nito, mainit-init pa ito.
OPAP crew is not involved,
So hindi
Your Honor.
sila na-involved. So palalabas lang.
Had they been involved, for sure, magbabago yung paningin ng foreigner na yun sa NTF LCAC.
So
Kung in-involved nila OPAP crew, they will be informed accordingly. Hindi naman po sa porke na sa gobyerno tayo, pero yung tama lang na information dapat nakakarating sa kanila.
So this will be the news for tomorrow that UN observer calling for recommending that all NTF LCAC activities be stopped. Yes, this is a breaking news. That's why I interjected. Yes, so lahat ng ginagawa titigil na raw kasi it is anti-human rights and it will not end. So it will not end the conflict due to his mission is supposed to be for climate change activities. Hindi ko alam ba't siya napunta ron.
That is why we are in quandary right now, Your Honor. NTF LCAC is all about good governance and delivery of basic services to the communities. And they are not involved in armed confrontation with the enemies of the state. And why they are lambasting the NTF LCAC? Maybe they are being fed with the wrong information, Your Honor. And I hope they can be corrected.
I totally agree, Mr. President, Your Honor. That's why the peace process is really a very fluid dynamics that would involve not just local conditions, current events, even the appropriate resources, allocation of the government, and other societal factors that probably would be beyond the comprehension of foreign observers going here. Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor. It's very clear.
So
Clearest day.
that will be the news for tomorrow. And your committee just made a response to that observation coming from an alleged UN observer. Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing this short interjection.
Thank you, Mr.
Pimentel is
President.
recognized.
So siguro, Mr. President, we after our questioning, it's very clear that the chairman of our subcommittee has designed properly and accurately and appropriately the budget for the OPAPRU for 2024, at least for 2024. No? Lahat ng issues na raise ko, lahat ng proposed amendments ko, tapos na, nagawa na po niya. So I commend our subcommittee chairman for being an expert on the subject matter and for having anticipated all of the issues and accommodated all of the requests. So congratulations, Mr. Sponsor, and we wish the OPAPRU led by Secretary Galvez all the best. Sir, request na lang, medyo complex kasi itong topics nito. You're implementing or executing a couple of agreements, peace agreements and other agreements with annexes. So always keep us informed, not only of the latest developments, but remind us of what is there, what are the contents of all of these agreements, parati, if possible, para we will appreciate the situation, and then pagdating ng budget process talaga, although the executive has prioritized all of the commitments, we will appreciate it and maybe even suggest some augmentation or support. Pero siyempre, we have to know where to get it. So ganun talaga yung prioritization yan eh. So if this is the priority, that means some will have to, some other PAPs will have to wait because this is the more urgent and prioritized PAPs. So once again, we thank the OPA Pro family, wish them all the best, and congratulate our sponsor, Mr. President. He is very well prepared with the budget that he is defending. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Actually, Mr. President, Minority Leader, kahit naitanong mo pa yung mga questions mo about the COA observations, I am very ready to give you the answers. But you said already that you're no longer going to ask those questions. So we're okay. Thank you, Mr. President, Minority Leader.
Pero by next year, Mr. President, sana kung maminosa na o kung pwedeng totally ma-eliminate na. Pero pag mag-reappear sa next year, then we talk about it. Yes. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Minority Leader. Thank you for that understanding.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have a very able chairperson of OPAP, and may I know.
Thank you, Mr. President, Majority Leader. Mr. President, for the record, your Senate Committee on Finance recommended budget for the Dangerous Drugs Board is 334 million pesos in new appropriations, and for Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is 4.07 billion pesos in new appropriations, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the permission of our sponsor, if I may proceed, Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor.
We will try our visits. It's already 7 p.m. and susunod pa yung DAR and DA. This is also very important. We'll try to keep our interpellation short and sweet and not hallucinating, Mr. President. Saka ako magsisegue ngayon sa Dangerous Drugs Board, Mr. President. Mr. President,
Yes.
there is a rule, no? There's a rule that for prescriptions for so-called dangerous drugs, even to patients, the physicians, dentists, veterinarians, and other medical practitioners are to secure a special prescription. Is this a DDB requirement, imposed requirement?
Yes, Your Honor. It is stated in Republic Act 9165, Your Honor,
Yes.
of the Dangerous Drugs Act.
The principle is there, pero the identification of what these dangerous drugs are, nasa kamay ng DDB. Apa.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so that means the DDB issues the special prescription form or authority, special license yata to.
The license, Your Honor, is being issued by Padilla, and the regulation is being exercised by the Dangerous Drugs Board.
Meaning to say, as to yung specific drugs that we need the that the medical practitioner can prescribe under a special license issued by PDEA. Okay, we get it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Kasi kahapon sa DOH, may program sila, close to 1 billion pesos yon for mental health commodity items which will be available sa barangay health center. Are those medicines, mga 30 medicines daw yun, to be made available to the barangay health centers for mental health condition? Are those 30 medicines already known to the PDEA, and do this need special license for dispensing, Mr. President?
According to the DDB, Your Honor, not yet.
Please coordinate with
Not
the
yet.
DOH para...
They just met Your Honor yesterday with the Pain Society of the Philippines, because some of these drugs are not dangerous.
Okay.
So
Not, okay.
no need for license and
Correct,
special prescription from the
So
DDB.
most likely, since Barangay Health Center ang availability nitong 30 meds na to, these are not in the list. Ano bang tawag doon sa list? Parang may A, B at A, B ba yan, Mr. President?
It's called the Controlled Medicines
Controlled.
Dangerous Drugs Schedule, Your Honor.
And then, how many schedules are there? Schedule 1, Schedule 2, parang gano'n, ano?
Yes, there are 4 schedules,
Okay.
Your Honor, Mr. President, based on the United Nations Drug Control Convention.
Guidance lang yun. It's that the United Nations issuances do not bind us. But we use them as our guidance.
We are a signatory to the convention, Your Honor. So I think it's binding for us.
CBD is a cannabis extract. Is CBD a cannabis extract? Considered a cannabis extract.
Yes, Your Honor.
Diba?
Yes.
Parang all cannabis extracts yata fall within one of these schedules, di ba? So, my point, Mr. President, kaya ko ito rin-raise, parang nagbago na ang attitude and policy as well as the legal rules over CBD of some countries, especially what we call the Western world, to which the Philippines is greatly exposed. So, ang kinakatakutan ko is there are some products readily available in those countries, legal, with CBD, which, unwittingly, some of our constituents and even probably visitors to the country may be bringing in. Technically, that's against the law as of the moment, Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yun na.
Yes.
Now, anong alam natin na hindi nila alam o anong alam nila na hindi natin alam? Since the Dangerous Drugs Board is already aware of the situation, the changing attitudes as well as legal regime in other countries and scientific findings siguro, will we be adjusting our schedules, Mr. President?
Your Honor, as far as the DDB and PDI is concerned, we still follow our domestic law pertaining to drugs, and that is the Dangerous Drugs Act.
Yeah.
So we cannot just adjust right away without amending the law.
So the listing with the schedules is provided by law, not by an issuance of the DDB.
We just we follow the schedule given to us by the United Nations Drug Control Convention, Your Honor, and as far as illegal drugs is concerned, it is very clear in our 9165.
Yes,
Yes.
but yung specific naming, yung schedules doon, yung mga the extracts of cannabis, etc., is that part of the law or part of an issuance by the Dangerous Drugs Board pursuant to law?
It's part of the law, Your Honor, because according to the definition under Republic Act 9165, dangerous drugs include those listed in the schedules annexed to the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, as amended by the 1972 Protocol, and in the schedules annexed to the 1971 Single Convention on Psychotropic Substances, as enumerated in the attached annex, which is an integral part of this act. So meaning, covered sila, Your Honor, by this
Correct.
act.
So, has the DDB added anything to that list?
There's none, Your Honor.
Nothing.
Nothing.
You have not added to the list. You have not subtracted from the list. Okay.
There's none, Your Honor.
Are those Western countries also a member of the treaty that we have mentioned or the agreement we have mentioned?
Yes, Your Honor, these Western countries, around the 140 countries are signatories to the United Nations Convention on Dangerous Drugs.
Okay, so it's clear now that the terms of the treaty can be adjusted by the by a country, no? So but in the Philippine setting, ang lumalabas from the inputs of the DDB, we need to do it through law, legislation. Knowledge of the DDB na naging issue ang possession of a product with a CBD here in the Philippines?
Yes, Your Honor, there were several interceptions made at the airport, Your Honor, for
from his point of origin, tama? In the market
Yeah.
of his point of origin.
legitimately available from
Yes.
his point of origin, but banned
Yes.
at the point of entry.
May we know how you treat such cases?
So, the same, Your Honor, we treat them as violations of law. Ang item, then cases will be filed against these people. So, maybe kawawa rin yun. No? I get your point. Kawawa talaga yung mga Pilipino na akala nila okay na kasi okay sa Thailand. Bakit hindi okay sa Pilipinas? Ngayon, dinala na dito. Nahuli sila sa airport. Problema. So, maybe, kailangan natin siguro ng public information drive
Nabawal.
according to this
But-
na bawal
Yes,
talaga ito.
nabawal. But is the DDB endorsing some revisit of the law? Change in our outlook towards this supposed to be non-addictive component called CBD?
Mr. President, according to DDB, yung inaalaw nila is yung meron lang 0.02% THC content. Medical preparation.
Medical?
Medical preparation. THC, medical preparation. 0.02.
What's
Percent.
THC?
Tetrahydrocannabiol.
That's the THC.
Yes,
That is
THC.
supposed to be the addictive component. So, okay. Bawal. I mean, ako, bawal yun. Kasi I think scientific data tells us that that is the addictive component of cannabis. So, wala tayong dapat baguhin doon, Mr. President. The other component na available na ngayon sa other markets, doon lang ako nag-alala. In good faith, binili doon, akala niya legal. Siyempre, ignorance of the law excuses no one. But the point is, this is a very complicated law found in an annex pa. Annex. Oh. Have you, ewan ko, mag-survey tayo rito. Ilan na nakabasa ng annex eh. Oh.
Well, as long as it is in a medical form that is registered in the country of origin, walang problema, Your Honor, pero iba talaga yung sinasabi mo. Iba yung gusto mong sabihin. Pero yung nga lang, we are constrained by law about our treatment. Hindi man pwede natin sabihin na hindi namin kakasuhan ito dahil naawa kami. Clearly, it's a violation of law. But as you have said, ignorance of the law excuses no one. So yan ang dilema ngayon ng Padilla at DDB. Kung paano treatment talaga, kawawa talaga.
Yes, if it's a dilemma, kaya nga nagtatanong ako, wala kayong mga recommendation sa amin eh. So apparently you don't find it as a dilemma eh. Kaya kung nga rin-raise ito, kung meron ba kayong mga, yung ano ba nangyayari sa ground, ini-intercept ninyo, kinakasuhan ba ninyo? Anong penalty? Non-bailable ba? Pero bailable naman po. Sige, pasagutin mo muna ito.
Does Senator Tolentino want to be recognized, or shall we wait for the answer of the sponsor?
Yes,
proceed.
yes,
Senator Tolentino.
Senator Tolentino is recognized.
Mr. President, just to, with the permission of the gentleman, just to make a slight interjection. Your Honor, perhaps the good minority leader is now bordering on a very controversial boundary relative to the medicinal effects of, I'm not an expert here of cannabis, I just rise, Mr. President, because this has been a very controversial issue in so far as the results of our, one of our newly proclaimed sports heroes, the results of the doping test on Justin Brownlee, allegedly from another country, showed some traces of cannabis to treat his left sore foot. So, Mr. President, if if the minority leader would intend to pursue his intention of having a new legislated annex that probably would include this very controversial area. Perhaps medical experts coming from the Department of Health would have to be the appropriate resource persons here. Baka hindi na masagot ni, although Senator De La Rosa is often referred to as Dr. De La Rosa, another field, public administration. Siguro, Mr. President, on another item, another subject matter, pag-usapan ito. But I agree, it's very pinasok sa Pilipinas, inarang, pero itong sa kanya, tinurok na sa paa, liable ba yun? Sa ibang jurisdiction naman yun dinamot. Considering that if it is correct, wala pa hong ruling yung Switzerland dito, if it is a correct diagnosis, o baka dinaya lang tayo sa Asian Games. So, I think, Mr. President, is very timely. Pag-aralan po siguro na magkaroon ng bagong batas tungkol dito. Thank you, Mr. President.
But, yes, does the sponsor want to say anything?
Well, I just would like to point out, Your Honor, that during our talks with some, I just don't want to reveal these people, the names of these people, but high government officials of Thailand. Baka mamaya, we will have a knee-jerk reaction to this situation, no? Na hanapan talaga natin ng paraan na legal na makapasok yan, since legal doon sa ibang bansa, like for example Thailand. Nakausap po natin yung mga opisyal ng ibang bansa, like Thailand. Sabi nila, yes, yung legalizing all those things ay good for their tourism. Maraming tourists pumapasok doon to avail of the legal status of that particular substance. But they have problem as far as their children are concerned. Kasi itong mga tindahan na ito ay walang limit kahit saan nilalagay. Kahit sa gilid ng eskwelahan, merong ganitong mga vending machine na anytime they can avail of that, then ang mga bata can easily access to this. So problema rin nila yan ngayon. Sinabi nila sa akin, pero hindi lang nila alam kung talagang yan ay official statement ng kalang gobyerno, kaya ayaw nilang, hindi ko lang muna silang i-quote
Yes.
officially.
But that's not, that's beyond what we're talking about.
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
President.
yes. I am just moving forward. I'm just moving forward, Your Honor.
Malayo na po yan because that includes
I'm just moving forward.
planting, growing, and even recreational use of, that's not our topic, Mr. President. Yun lang ako, there's a phenomenon happening, yun na nga, that an extract of cannabis which is found to be non-addictive is already legally available in markets of other countries where Filipinos are exposed to. We visit those countries and siguro unwittingly, in good faith, nabibili, nadadala rito. Tinatanong ko, nararamdaman nyo na ba yan? Nangyayari ba yan? How do you treat such a situation? Kaya sabi nyo, you cannot change the annex or any, you need a law. Okay, klaro. So how do you treat them? You file cases against them? Are the cases non-bailable? Para maramdaman namin ng urgency kung gano'n because may konting unfairness na doon. Pero tama yun, you're implementing the law. Ignorance of the law excuses no one, but the legislators must react to situations on the ground, Mr. President.
Well, depende, Your Honor, kung non-billable or not, depende sa threshold. Or the nature of the position, that's trafficking. Dahil pinapasok mo dito. Non-billable yun. So, non-billable, Your Honor.
Non-bailable.
Non-billable.
Okay, so,
Oh.
I don't know, ako,
Importation.
that's why tinatanong ko yung what is happening on the ground and it's from the knowledge of the DDB. So, okay, so siguro nga we need to urgently revisit this kasi baka in good faith binibili dun eh. So, but we're limiting it to that extract which scientific data is telling us that it is non-addictive, di ba? Di ba? Yun naman yata yung and even non-addictive and non-mind altering. Yun yata ang importante sa lahat eh, Mr. President. So,
Yes, Mr. President, according to DDB, until now, WHO is still in the process of research as far as that
is concerned.
particular,
sige pa.
yeah.
Sige, may
Liquid ba daw?
yung may alam siguro yung ibang countries pero hindi naman tayo rin siyempre gaya-gaya lamang. I'm just worried about those who will be facing criminal cases na wala namang criminal intent. Although this is a special law, so criminal intent is not necessary for the commission of the crime. So Mr. President, so thank you. No? Wala kasi ako ibang mapagtanungan except PDEA and DDB for the actual situation on the ground. Ngayon, ito siguro last topic. Ito po, I cannot let this go kasi malaki yung halaga doon sa ating there's a COA finding of lack of periodic monitoring and control procedures resulting in unliquidated fund transfers totaling 315 million pesos as of December 31, 2022. So, siguro, Mr. Sponsor, Mr. President, paano ba nila ito i-address, Mr. President?
The DDB Secretariat, Your Honor, has proposed to the board stringent measures to better facilitate the fund transfer, monitoring and liquidation of the funds provided to drug abuse treatment and rehabilitation facilities, including community-based drug rehabilitation facilities. The additional mechanism aims to further streamline the accountability procedure in fund transfer, Your Honor.
The recipients are also government entities or private entities?
Yes, Your Honor, there are drug treatment rehabilitation center and local government units that are maintaining and operating rehabilitation centers.
What other agency operates a drug rehabilitation center aside from an LGU?
DOH, Your Honor.
DOH.
DOH.
Pero ang pera, nasa DDB ang pera, and then
It's DDB is the conduit of the funds, Your Honor. Dinadaan lang sa DDB, then dinidistribute din sa kanila.
released by the DBM?
DBM to DDB, then
Yes.
there's a MOA between DDB and the implementer of the
Yes,
rehabilitation program. Your
Okay,
Honor.
saan kaya, if just in case anybody knows, sang item in the GAA kinukuha ng DBM yung transferred amount? Meron ba yun? Special?
SAJF, Your Honor, special account under general fund.
So not, okay. So it's an automatic appropriation siguro. Just inform us saan nanggagaling yung amounts to be deposited to that SAGF account, Mr. President. Sige, kahit na in writing na lang po, Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor.
So and then I hope by next year wala na po ito. We do not encounter this report. Maliliquidate na natin itong 315.7 million.
Yes, Your Honor. DDB promised to limit these deficiencies next year. If possible, totally eliminate all these deficiencies. But
Yes.
they will do their best, Your Honor. Because that is a recurring problem, Your Honor.
Hindi, bakit nga?
We hope it will not recur next year.
It's-
Bakit recurring?
It's an ongoing program. Dapat natututo tayo over the years, Mr. President. Hindi na siya recurring problem.
Your Honor, every year they're released with that 77 million, and if the projects are implemented in 2 years, so naturally the following year hindi pa tapos itong project na ito. So talaga recurring talaga kasi yung ibang project maybe aabot ng 3 years. So at the end of the year magkakaroon talaga ng COA findings na gano'n, Your Honor.
But
So
siguro-
kaya nga, maganda na rin at binibigyan sila ng avenue to explain themselves.
dapat nalilesen din.
At talaga, Your Honor,
Apo.
dapat malilisen.
So, is the DDB a recipient of any confidential or intelligence fund?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Congratulations. And then last topic, Mr. President, have you heard of dangerous drugs being given as a reward?
Your Honor,
Nababasa natin yan eh. Gusto ko ba i-confirm kung totoo?
yes, that has been taken up in almost all our committee hearings, no? But PDEA and DDB and even the PNP always deny that policy. Talagang non-existent yan na policy, Your Honor. Kung meron mang gumagawa niyan, maybe yung mga it is not sanctioned or talagang it's downright prohibited by the leadership of this agency, Your Honor. But anyway, the Director General, Padilla, gave stern warning to the operatives to never do this kind of reward system. Padilla strictly implements the Operation Private Eye, which was institutionalized through Dangerous Drugs Board regulation as a reward system for our private informants, which is anchored on Section 22 of Republic Act number 916. Meaning cash ang reward ng mga informants, Your Honor, hindi talaga drugs. We also require our operatives to use body-worn cameras during operations to promote integrity in the anti-illegal drug campaign and ensure compliance with the law on the proper disposition of illegal drugs. So, they are very consistent in denying that accusation, Your Honor.
Okay. If our sponsor says na it never happened, I will no longer pursue it kasi in-entertain natin, chismis na eh. So if it never happened, our sponsor says hindi nangyari yan, he's our top-notch investigator here in the Senate. Alam niya nangyari. So
Yes, Your Honor.
I will not pursue it anymore kasi di ba, pinapropagate natin yung kwento, hindi pala totoo.
Yes, Your
sige
Honor.
po.
It was clearly explained by Nulisdan General Morolaso during one of our hearings that meron lang, yung pag-upo niya, meron lang nagpapasiklab na informant na lumapit, nag-offer, at right away, sinabihan niya, it is not our policy. Merong, hindi siya part of the PNP or PDA organization, isang civilian
I get it.
na informant.
Nakwento lang niya yung
Kwento.
offer. And the offer involved, sabi niya na, I'll give you information on this. Ito yung hall ninyo.
Basta ibalik nyo sa akin, ng ganito.
Okay. So nakwento. Okay. Yun ang nagbigay ng buhay sa isa pang kwento na wala naman palang factual basis. So,
Yes, Your
so
Honor.
thank you for that clarification, Mr. Sponsor. And I find the overall, the level of the budget of the Dangerous Drugs Boards at a reasonable level, Mr. President. So we wish you all the best, pero next time you encounter a dilemma, share the dilemma with us. Para alam namin na it's already a dilemma to you. Ano? Okay,
Yes.
hindi yung nagtatanong pa tayo ngayon and then you tell us it's a dilemma na pala. So, ano po tayo? Proactive. Let's take some proactive steps. Kasi evolving din yung evolving ang science, di ba? Gumagalaw din ang science, and this is also based the list, the annexes are based on scientific findings. So, thank you. We wish the Dangerous Drugs Board all the best, and once again, we thank our sponsor, Mr. President. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Minority Leader. Salamat.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, there being no other reservation for interpellation, I move that we close the period of interpellation and consider the budget of the Dangerous Drugs Board and PDEA to be deemed submit.
There being no...
Only Dangerous Drugs Board.
PDA, may PDA ka? Yeah, meron pa PDA.
Okay.
I have questions for Padilla. I thought
Okay.
that was the
So,
procedure
Dangerous Drugs
we're
Board.
Dangerous Drugs Board, we approve, Mr. President.
Okay.
I'll recall my motion, Mr. President.
Yes, to be amended to just the Dangerous Drugs Board.
Dangerous Drugs Board.
There
Okay.
being no objection, the motion is approved that the budget of the Dangerous Drugs Board is hereby deemed submitted. We'll ask now the PDA to remain.
Padilla is already seated there with us? Okay. So let's continue, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
Okay. Padilla is a recipient of CIF.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it CF or IF?
It's CF, Your Honor.
To the tune of?
500 million, Your Honor.
Is this, has Padilla been getting this amount year after year, Mr. President?
Yes, Your Honor. It has been consistent since
For how many years na siguro? At,
since 2019, Your Honor.
Okay.
It's 500.
Yes.
But before 2019, mababa lang, Your Honor. Mababa, 400 plus, 200 plus the year before. Then it was 2016 nga, 73 lang.
if I remember correctly, ang PNP magkano? Ang PNP yata, CF ng PNP nasa 800, yes, tama, pares kami naalala ni Senator Tolentino, around 800 million. And that the PNP is enforcing the revised penal code and many other laws, Mr. President. I mean, but in ratio and proportion, is the amount we are giving the PDEA unreasonably high, Mr. President?
Well, Mr. President, pag sinabi ng PNP, kulang sila, sabi rin ng PDEA, kulang na kulang pa rin daw talaga yan.
Siyempre, kasi, pero we have to measure it sa standards po natin as legislators, Mr. President. 500 for PDEA, drugs laws, ang niya. 800 for PNP, revised penal code and many other special laws. Ang point ko, hindi sa kulang sa PNP. Are we giving too much to PDEA, Mr. President?
Maybe, Your Honor, because PIA is combating transnational crimes, Your Honor. Malalaking sindikato ito at medyo mas mahirap kumuha ng informasyon pagdating dito sa drug syndicates, Your Honor.
Pinalista ko, pina-enumerate ko sa PNP ang mga achievements nila eh. Kasama sa mga achievements nila are drug-related operations eh. So may nag-overlapping na po tayo sa PNP. And pag tinanong ko po ang PDEA, what are your achievements? Tapos ikukumpara ko ngayon sa sagot dun sa PNP, I'm sure I will find some overlapping dun eh, sa dalawa.
Well, it happens, Your Honor, because they conduct joint operations, Your Honor, the PNP and PDEA. So some accomplishments are joint and some accomplishments are... but all operations were being sanctioned by PDEA, whether it's being undertaken by PDEA operatives or PNP operatives. Lahat po yan ay under the supervision of PDEA, being the lead agency in the anti-drug operations.
Sige, can we hear from PDEA, Mr. President, through our sponsor, ano po yung, let us say, for the past 2 years, what would be your greatest achievements, Mr. President?
Sana yung...
Kahit na hanggang 5 po, the top 5 or the top 3, Mr. President.
Mr. President, for 2023 alone, the accomplishments of PDEA are as follows. 1,068 positive intelligence operations were conducted. 2,386 drug-related negation operations were conducted. 72 high-impact operations were conducted. 3,196 drug personalities were arrested. 50 minors were rescued. 263 high-value targets were arrested. 2.3 billion worth of dangerous drugs were confiscated. 5,702 drug cases were filed in courts. 5 additional Balay Silangan Reformation Centers were established. 1,850 advocacy activities were conducted. 27,903 barangays were drug cleared as of October 31, 2023. That's so far the operational accomplishments of PDEA.
Ito po, suggestion lang, Mr. President, na napapansin ko when they announce their achievements. You use the value. Pero I suggest hindi ako tumitingin sa value. We have to look at the volume. Kasi value, siyempre, naging 500 pesos, tumaas ang value. Pero look at the volume siguro of the whole of the catch. So yung 2.3 billion pesos na nabanggit, ilang kilos po yun and what kind of drugs? Pag nagbabasa nga ako ng mga reports, nakikita ko yung mga amount, billions na. Pero I'm not impressed. Dapat doon tayo sa ilang kilos po yun, ano pong volume yun.
Yes, Mr. President, as far as volume is concerned, 28,826 kilograms of crystalline shabu, 714 liters of liquid shabu, 99 billion pieces of marijuana plants, 16 billion pieces of marijuana seedlings.
May counting machine sila, Mr. President. You have a counting machine. You counted the seeds.
Well, individually, yung seedlings, Mr. President, hindi seeds. Seedlings. Seedlings talagang.
Seedlings.
By area daw yung competition, Mr. President.
Estimate.
Estimate.
We were just lightening the mood, Mr. President. Okay. Estimated yan. Okay. Opo. Sige po, Mr. President. Can we get the assessment of our PDEA Director General on how bad the drug problem is, the illegal or dangerous drugs problem is in the Philippines? How bad is it?
So, Mr. President, the drug situation in the Philippines is still under control. Very much manageable, Mr. President. No cause for alarm as of now, Mr. President. The drug problem is under control. It's not
Okay.
really that bad.
It's not really that bad. Okay. Siguro, okay. So, PDEA is a 21-year-old agency, Mr. President?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, by this time siguro, with all of the resources being poured into PDEA, that should be the case. Sana nga, it has become a minor problem because the manufacturers, the traffickers are afraid to come here. Sana ganun ang nangyayari. It's not yet a minor problem.
Yeah, not yet a minor problem, Mr. President.
Ano pa kailangan gawin natin, Mr. President? To make the Philippines unattractive for drug traffickers, importers, and even manufacturers, Mr. President. Ano pa kaya ang kailangan natin gawin? Kasi 21 years old na po ito. Ang laki ng resources na binubuhos natin sa PDEA. Specialized Agency for Drugs. Dapat nararamdaman na natin ang resulta ng devotion of great resources to this to the fight against drugs, illegal drugs, Mr. President.
Again, Mr. President, I think we will go back again to the reimposition of death penalty against those high-profile or high-level drug traffickers, Mr. President, because if you have observed, countries that have that are imposing death penalty, particularly on illegal drugs, they are not encountering big problem as far as drug is concerned, like China, Indonesia, Singapore. When you talk to the drug lords in Bilibid, they will say that they will not dare traffic drugs to Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, or China, because for sure they will be killed by because the law is very strict. They will
Killed by the state. Killed by the state. By the state. Legal. Legal. What does the sponsor have in mind? Ano yung mga levels natin na which should warrant the death penalty in his mind, Mr. President?
When we say yes, Mr. President, the proposal of PDEA is that if the country of origin of these drugs or the country of origin of the drug offender imposes death penalty, when they are caught here in the Philippines, when they are arrested here in the Philippines, they should be meted with the death penalty also.
Following the same quantities in the country of origin. Kasi I'm sure may quantities din sila.
Yes, yes, Your Honor. That is why these Chinese are very fond of trafficking drugs in the Philippines because wala tayong death penalty. Well, in China, sigurado mamamatay sila doon.
Sige po, yung mga nahuhuli natin sa drug cases natin, where are they detained, Mr. President?
Those who are convicted, Mr. President, are serving their sentences at the New Bilibid prisons, while those pending sentence, they are still with the
BJMP jails.
And,
Okay. Normal,
Normal,
procedure. Okay.
Mr.
Hindi ba yung ating mga jails and prisons ay hell on earth? Hindi ba sufficient deterrent na yun to involve in drug trafficking in the Philippines?
Maybe not, Mr. President, because they're enjoying inside, like the drug lords in the Bilibid enjoy while they are inside.
Okay. So they don't find it to be hell on earth pala. Okay, Mr. President. Maybe they're under the influence of drugs, Mr. President. Maybe they're still under the influence of drugs. That's why they don't feel the hell on earth being held in jails and prisons here in the Philippines, Mr. President.
Maybe, Mr. President, and others become even more richer while they are incarcerated. While they are serving their sentence, they are getting richer because the drug trade is continuing.
So that's Bucor and BJMP issues. Anyway, nakalusot na po sila sa process natin. Approve na yung budgets nila. So let me just siguro appeal to the Director General. Sir, there have been past scandals involving PDEA, putting the agency in a bad light. Huwag na natin ulitin siguro para na alam na siguro ng taong bayan yun. So siguro, sir, I do not know how you can instill better discipline among your men. No? Kasi
their internal cleansing program, Your Honor, is still ongoing.
Pero yung nabasa ba namin, totoo ba yan? Like for example, ayoko na sana i-remind, pero I just need to confirm na yung PDEA personnel or chief involved in drug trade, illegal drugs trading in Taguig. Tama ba yan? Ang nabasa namin? Totoo yun?
Yes, Your Honor, it was confirmed that talaga nangyari yun.
Your CIF can be used for counterintelligence, and counterintelligence means monitoring your own men, di ba?
Yes.
Why did we fail in that instance, Mr. President?
Yes, according to the PDEA chief, Your Honor, the case that you mentioned a while ago was his first accomplishment upon assumption of office.
That was the result of your counterintelligence work, Pale. Okay, sige.
Yes, Your Honor, through counterintelligence efforts of PDEA and in coordination with the Philippine National Police.
Okay, so you put it to good use in that case, Mr. President. Kasi, ayun, ano yung about Caesar's wife, ano yung kasabihan? Dapat si Padilla, ganun. I mean, I don't know, I need assistance from Senator Tolentino. Ano yun? You should be above suspicion, like Caesar's wife, ganun ba yung ano? So Padilla should be, you should be above suspicion that your own people are trading in or involved in illegal drugs. Malinis dapat kayo kasi otherwise, hopeless talaga ang drug situation, Mr. President. So I hope that you have more achievements to come. You're a 21-year-old agency. Sana by the time you're 25 years old, 30 years old, I mean, minor problem na siya. As minor as, nag-iisip ako anong crime in the RPC which is already a minor problem, Mr. President.
Your Honor.
We need PNP data, mga ganun. So, I hope ganun po ang nangyayari. So, even without the need of the reimposition of death penalty, kasi divisive issue yan, magtatagal po talaga. If that is the solution, therefore parang we're admitting there is no solution. Kasi, that will be debated to death, actually.
Yes.
That is the penalty for the proposal for the reimposition of death penalty. It is the death penalty itself. We will debate it to death, Mr. President. So, sana po, sa next time, hindi po yun ang sagot kasi otherwise parang walang sagot. So when I ask for ano pa pwede natin gawin, sana hindi po yun ang sagot, Mr. President.
Yes, we just hope and pray with the current leadership of PDEA, Your Honor, I can assure you, I know General Morolaso, how strict he is and he was and he will be.
When did the General become the PDEA chief? When?
During the assumption of this current
July 1?
administration, July 1.
2022?
November 2019, Your Honor. At 2022.
Okay, November 2022. Isang taon pa lang. Sige, we wish you all the best, Director General. Sabi nating sponsor, you are a reformer. So, you are a strict person, straight. Sige, we wish you all the best. Suporta kami kung ganyan po kayo. Hindi ko kayo kilala, pero I'm sure kilala ka na yung sponsor. So,
Nung kaniti pa kami, Your Honor, pag makita ko si General Lasso, ay talagang nagkikinto na kami sa hallway. Kung makasibat pa kami, sibat. Pero kung hindi pa kasibat, talaga nagkikinto na kami.
upper classman.
Upper class ko po siya. And hindi ka talaga makalusot sa kanya pag mahinang klase ka.
Sige po, we wish you all the best. Pero, pasensya na, General, because we will have to really strictly monitor the activities of your agency. And we will be sensitive to complaints, reports that we read, feedback from the ground. Abuses ang ating pagbawalan, abuses, and then just be more disciplined in the conduct of your activities and the performance of your mandate. So we wish you all the best and thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Salamat po.
Thank you, Minority Leader. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Minority Leader. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, again, there being no other reservation for interpellation, I move that we close the period of interpellation and consider the budget of PDEA to be deemed submitted for the body's consideration.
There being no objection to the motion, Majority Floor Leader, the budget of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is hereby deemed submitted. Congratulations, gentlemen.
1 minute suspension.
Just on a side note, baby ko din yan because I was a member of Congress. I was the principal author of the Dangerous Drugs Law.